send me one of the links. Actually, I can find the.
Yeah, you can find the.
Actually, I
there
didn't
it is,
even know
Fox Shop.
Restream was it.
What? You're live on Instagram?
I shouldn't be. I don't know. I don't.
Have we been live this whole time?
Oh my god.
We've been live for like 20 seconds now.
Are live now, for sure.
Okay. Update titles. Dashboard. Playing Sherlock. Okay. All the titles are good. We are.
Wait, that's on the dashboard?
We're live. We are live, everybody.
I think the
Okay,
beer
well,
is in frame.
It's not a
hello,
beer. It's a cream
Internet.
soda. It's an IBC cream
I think
soda.
your alcohol is in frame.
Not
Not
alcohol.
alcoholic.
Hello,
It's
Internet.
a cream
It's
soda.
a cream soda. Welcome to the Foxhole again. We are here with I'm the Bob.
Hi.
It's Austin.
It's Austin
And John.
Hi, I'm Laura.
and Laura. Okay, so we are here to play some games today. Not games, game singular, right?
Some games.
So you see me playing on my phone. It's because I'm literally linking this out to people so that people can follow us. Because I loves it. Oh no, we are live on Facebook. That was Facebook. So what we're going to do is this is the game that you all have been waiting for. Maybe not. It's the game
We've been waiting for.
We're going to finally play Sherlock Holmes. This is a game that is produced by Space Cowboys, right?
Yep.
And it is a it actually has quite a bit. It's a 1 to 8 player. They consider a 14 years and older, and theoretically it's a 90 plus minute, which means it's less than 120, so it's about an hour and a half probably. But that's only if you know what you're doing, and we for
don't.
sure do not know what we're doing.
Okay, so I'm going to get out the directory.
Yes, so that being said, we are
I'm going to get out the rules. I'm going to get out the map.
Yeah, there's all kinds of pieces to this, and here it goes. It's going to go all over the table here, and it's going to be good.
I don't know if we need pens or pencils or...
I have no idea what we're going to need or not need.
And gazelle legs.
And Austin is like a baby gazelle.
Well, there's a bunch of different cases that you
Right.
can pick from, right?
Okay,
So this
so
game is the
let's-
Consulting Detective.
Talk about the cases here. And we're not going to go into them. We're not going to crack them. We are just going to go by
gonna tell you
name.
what they are.
Okay, so we have the munitions magnate.
Okay.
We have the tin soldier.
Okay.
The mystified murderess.
Oh.
The lionized lions.
Lionized lions?
Am I reading that?
Lionized lions.
Lionized.
Lionized
Not a word I've ever
Loose.
heard.
The cryptic corpse.
Cryptic corpse.
The mummy's curse.
Ooh. The Mummy's Curse.
Okay, that was a good
Person
reaction.
the mini.
The banker's quietus.
Banker's Quietus.
The Thames murder, which is
The Thames Murder is the basic
the
one. which
basic.
is what
the-
you do to learn the game.
I think this is the thickie. That's the thickest one.
Yeah.
The solicitor's solicitor.
The solicitor.
And the pilfered paintings.
Okay.
I like the
So
word pilgrim.
they technically we can choose any one, but I think it's encouraged that we start with the base game first, which is the Thames Murders.
Well, no, that's interesting because each of these have case numbers.
Oh,
Yeah.
which one is which?
So
Case
this is
number is
actually
the one
case
that's case
8. So you have case
Is there case 1?
10,
There is.
case 9,
And that would be the beginning one.
8,
We'll put
7.
them all
Yeah.
backwards.
Did we do it backwards?
We just did
Yeah.
it backwards order.
Oh,
yeah.
so I'm mistaken? Because otherwise you would work back through history.
Well, yes.
Case
So
number
you
1.
have case 1, which
Uh-oh.
is March 12th, 1888.
Maybe,
So-
John, you need to read
That's-
the instructions a little bit.
Okay.
So that's the whole purpose that we're streaming this, is that we have no idea what's going on, you guys. We're literally going...
Introduction. Welcome to the streets of London in the Victorian era. The fog is spreading, crime runs rampant, and you, one of the Baker Street irregulars, are here to lead the investigation. In a study in Scarlet, Watson introduces the Baker Street Secret Police section to us for the first time. This group of half a dozen of the dirtiest and most ragged street urchins that I ever clapped eyes on, under the leadership of Wiggins, was a most precocious Precious, helped to Sherlock Holmes, to whom they were the eyes and ears of the streets of London. As early as 1888, in The Sign of Four, Wiggins had become a young man, and his group of Baker Street irregulars had doubled. They can go everywhere, see everything, overhear everyone, declared Holmes. Wiggins had become a vital collaborator to the world's greatest consulting detective. Holmes' career in Baker Street lasted some 22 years. The number of cases he had to solve grew at the same speed as his reputation. After Watson's first marriage in November of 1886, Holmes relied increasingly on the help of the Baker Street irregulars. During the years in which Holmes was absent, from 1892 to 1894, it was Wiggins who was then attempting to become an actor who kept Mycroft Holmes informed of the criminal underworld's activities in London. Mycroft, who had frequent contact with his brother, would pass this information on to Sherlock. Wiggins continued to collaborate with Holmes throughout the 1890s. During the first few years of the following century, his talent as an actor, which he had learned mostly from Holmes, helped him move easily through the various layers of London society. Upon Wiggins's death in 1939, his journal, which spoke of many cases on which he had worked with Holmes, was found. Object of the game. You take on the role of members of the unofficial gang of the Baker Street Irregulars, founded by the famous Sherlock Holmes, to keep him informed about the word on the street and help him in mysterious cases. This set contains 10 mystery cases, which will be up to you to solve. For each case, you will have a series of leads to follow, a map of London, a directory, and the local press, which is the newspapers over by Austin. Mm-hmm. You also have a list of informants, which contains some very qualified people who will assist you in your research. Medical examiner, criminologist, sources, etc. Armed with all of these elements and your imagination, you will walk the streets of London looking for clues which will allow you to solve the enigma and answer a series of questions about the case. But nothing's ever as simple as it seems, and you will have to be wise if you don't want to be ridiculed during your final confrontation with Holmes. Will you surpass the master?
Okay.
Contents. Somebody else want to take over or read? No?
I will. I'm always going to talk. I like talking. Okay. Contents. The map. This map is a simplified version of the City of London during the Victorian era. All along this map will take you through its streets so that you can visit specific places and verify alibis. London is divided into areas: Northwest, West Central, Southwest, East Central, Southeast, which are delineated by blue lines and by the Thames River. Then each area is divided into numbers matching the addresses of people to question. These divisions are used in the books as chapter titles and the directory. For example, the Hyde Park address is 95 Northwest, which is the abridged version of the full address 95 Park Lane in the Northwest area. The house blocks marked in red represent specific places, the British Museum, for example. Those marked in black represent police stations, and yellow ones represent places where you may have, at some point, to go and investigate. As the addresses are applied to house blocks, a character can, for example, be located at 62 East Central, which is also the address of the Hotel Dakar, without living in it. You can go to the hotel without living in it. The places, a house, a building, a store, may change ownership from one case to another. There is a travel time scale in one of the map's corners. This scale allows you to check suspects' walking speed only and thus ascertain their alibis. Walking speed only. So you have
5 minutes.
Yeah.
1 minute and 15.
So you can see how far someone can get in a certain amount of time. Okay, London directory.
Do we need a ruler? An actual ruler?
Or something.
I
I
think
think it's 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch. So. This booklet presents the addresses of people living in London. Thus, when players wish to meet someone, they can consult the directory to find their address and then head over to that address by reading the corresponding lead. To simplify the game, the address system used the maps division system. Thus, for example, Sherlock Holmes' address, which will be found in the directory under Holmes, Sherlock, is 42 Northwest. If the players want to head over to Holmes during the case, they must therefore read Chapter 42 Northwest from the current case. Note: found in the directory, in addition to standard alphabetical lists, are entries by profession. List of informants. Located on the back of this booklet, this list offers Sherlock Holmes recurring informants, as well as their addresses. These informants will be able to help you in most cases, some being more useful than others, depending on the events. Newspapers. For each case, you'll have at your disposal the day's newspaper, as well as all of the newspapers published on previous dates. In these newspapers, you'll sometimes find articles or ads which will point to new leads. Anyone else want to read?
I'll take it back.
Case booklets. 10. These 10 booklets contain the 10 cases you will have to solve. The cases are sorted by date and are all structured the same way. Introduction. In this text, the title and date of the mystery are presented to you, as well as the details of the case, generally during an interview at Holmes's. Leads. This part of the text represents all of the leads in the form of chapters, which you may follow during your investigation by following the leads and making the right deductions. You will be able to solve the mystery offered by Holmes. Each lead corresponds to a geographic area. See Map of London and directory. The leads are sorted by area, and in each area, the leads are sorted in ascending order. The illustrations which accompany the text are purely decorative. So, never mind those.
Don't pay attention to the pictures.
Questions. As soon as you think you have solved the case, you will be faced with 2 series of questions. The first series is always in direct relation to the case. The second series will allow you to score additional points for the discovery of events which are related to the case. Solutions. Holmes will detail for you the way he unraveled the threads of the case. Note: questions and solutions are printed upside down at the end of the booklet. So if you're sitting on the other side of the table, you can read it. Score. In the final section, located in the envelope placed at the end of the booklet, you'll get the answers to the questions and will tally your final score, which you'll then compare to Holmes's. It is common knowledge that Holmes is unbeatable, but do not despair, you might surprise yourself.
Game setup. The players choose a case they all agree on. For practical reasons, we suggest that the cases are played in chronological order, notably to avoid finding clues in the newspaper, which may spoil the surprise and, in doing so, the fun. The map of London is placed in the middle of the table, which, oddly enough, we've already done. The London directory and the list of informants at the back is placed near the map, which, again, we have already done. The list of informants is on the back of here.
On the back.
The players also place nearby the newspaper whose date matches the case, as well as all previous newspapers. Since we're starting with case 1, we need the newspaper for 12 March 1988 or 1888.
The one on top.
Okay. A player is chosen as the lead investigator. That player takes the booklet, reads the case introduction text, and the game begins. Game overview. The players all cooperate to solve the case. The game plays over a series of turns. The lead investigator chooses a lead from the current case. They can, for example, declare, I want to go visit the crime scene. Find the address in the directory and go there. If the lead doesn't exist in the booklet, meaning there's no corresponding paragraph in the current case for the location, the player wanted to visit, the player simply chooses another lead. When they have found their lead, the player reads the paragraph out loud, then notes that this lead has been followed. Note: to keep intact the pleasure of discovering the answer, avoid looking too closely at the other leads on the page you're reading.
So do we have a couple pieces of paper that we can use to slide
We
around?
can get
Yeah,
we can get printer paper.
Yep.
They then pass the book to the player sitting to their left, who becomes the new lead investigator and chooses a lead to follow. The players can follow as many leads as they want, but on their turn, a player can only read a single lead. Newspapers. Already visited leads directory. On their turn, all of the players have a free and unlimited access to the directory, as well as the case's newspaper. They can also reread the leads already visited as much as they want. Discussion. Of course, the players can discuss as much as they want to talk about the case or to debate the next lead to follow. But if there's a disagreement between them about the next destination, it's the current lead investigator who has the final word. End of the game. The players can decide to stop following leads as soon as they want to. They then moved to the questions section of the case and answers the two series of questions given to them. Players then head over to the solutions section, and one of them reads Holmes's conclusion out loud. This, I think, is going to be where we would pause if we can.
Yep.
Somehow. I don't think we can actually pause. I think.
Well, we won't read it out on camera, though.
Right. I think we can mute our mic, though.
Yeah, we
Yes,
can probably
we can.
mute our mic.
Through OBS, we can mute our mic. Okay. Players then head over to the solution section, and one of them reads Holmes's conclusion out loud. Finally, the player opens the envelope to evaluate their score and compare it to Holmes. Score. To tally their score, the players add the points obtained by answering the questions, then total up the number of leads they followed. Then they compare the number of leads to the number of leads followed by Holmes. In some cases, some leads are considered to be free. These are given at the end of the solution, sections of each case. If the players have followed some of these leads, they do not count them among their followed leads. If players have followed more leads than Holmes, they subtract 5 points from their score for each extra lead. If they followed fewer leads than Holmes, they add 5.
Okay, so in order to beat Holmes, you have to
Do it faster, quicker,
solve
better,
it
stronger.
doing fewer leads.
Yes.
So you have to be careful, like when you say you're done. Oh, geez, okay.
Example. The players have followed 8 leads and scored 95 points by answering the 2 series of questions. They realize that Holmes has, for his part, finished the case with 6 leads. As they followed 2 extra leads, they deduct 10 points from their score and finally only score 85 points. The players may then compare their score to Holmes. Holmes' score is always 100 points.
Oh.
Defeating the master is clearly hard, but not totally impossible. Okay. Bob, you want to take over this lecture? Do we need to?
Maybe not.
What is the
it?
lecture about?
Also found among his papers were notes from an 1886 lecture given by Holmes to Wiggins.
Story.
Or, yeah.
Do we read it now, or?
I don't know. Let's see.
The storyline at the beginning.
No, I don't think we need to read it.
Okay. Well, who's going to be the first lead investigator?
Yeah,
I
I
was
think,
gonna point at you.
I think you. All right. So, here we go.
Probably put these
Put those back in the
back in
box.
the box.
Because we're probably going to only get through one case.
I didn't
would
give the
think so.
colors.
Maximum one case. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so here we go. For those of you watching out there on the YouTubes, we are selecting John as our lead investigator to start. And each time someone follows a lead, then the lead investigator transfers to the next person. And they get to choose a new lead. And the whole point is to not follow too many leads, but to follow enough leads to solve the case.
Case number 1. the munitions magnate. 12th of March, 1888. Despite the lateness of winter, March is still roaring like a lion. In fact, just as we alight from our cab in front of 221B Baker Street, a bowler hat skitters by, propelled by the fierce wind. In close pursuit is none other than Wiggins, chief of the Baker Street Irregulars. And after Dr. Watson, Sherlock Holmes, most able assistant. Sherlock Holmes' most able assistant, talking about Watson. Before we can join the case, Wiggins manages to halt the flying bit of finery with a daft stroke of his umbrella. Cramming it squarely on his head, he saunters back towards us. "Hello," he says cheerily. "It would appear that Mr. Holmes is summoning the troops. Shall we?" With the point of his umbrella, a very versatile tool it appears, Wiggins stabs the doorbell. It is several moments before Miss Hudson answers. After a brief exchange of greetings, she sends us on our way to Holmes's apartment. Above, we find Holmes and Dr. Watson sitting at a table, engaged in earnest conversation with a gentleman in his late 40s, expensively dressed, yet somewhat rumpled in appearance. "Warm yourselves," says Holmes, "and I will explain my reasons for calling you out on such a bitter morning." Coats and hats are immediately shed. There is a distinct pop as Wiggins removes his bowler, and a rush is made for the fireplace. In due course, introductions are made, and the gentleman is identified as Mr. Richard Allen, brother of the late Courtney Allen, president of the Grant Arms Company. There's a lot of reading. It is the recent death of his brother, says Holmes, that occasions his visit to us. Briefly, Courtney Allen was found shot to death in an alley behind his office on the evening of March 9th at approximately 7 p.m. by the constable on patrol. Scotland Yard has put the crime down as a simple robbery by person or persons unknown, largely due to the fact that the victim's wallet was found empty near the body and his gold pocket watch was missing. Mr. Allen was just telling us a bit about his brother when you arrived. Please continue, Mr. Allen. Well, Courtney was a dynamic individual, always busy, forever on the move. Yet, he had the unique ability to make 10 minutes spent with you seem like an hour. So complete was his attention to you. Of course, his charm worked like a magic potion on the ladies. You said he was married? Asked Watson with a raised eyebrow. Oh yes, poor Beatrice. He was involved in an affair at the time of his death? Asked Wiggins. Yes, I believe he was, but I have no clue as to who the lady might be. You see, the night before he was killed, I popped round to his office about 5:30 and managed to coax him to supper at Keen's. We were there a short while when Courtney begged leave. He indicated that he had an important meeting, said auf Wiedersehen, and winked. That wink meant a woman. Is the company financially sound? Asks Watson. Oh, quite. A fine investment for anyone's portfolio. You see, the company was founded as a small gun shop some 70-odd years ago by our great-uncle Thaddeus Grant. It catered to a very elite clientele. Most of the chaps in the regiment were equipped with pistols from Grant's, nods Watson. Why, Braxton, you've heard me speak of Braxton, Holmes. He had a pair of the finest dueling pistols. Yes, Watson. Pray continue, Mr. Allen. Courtney, always fascinated by firearms, apprenticed himself to Uncle Thaddeus. When Thaddeus died in 1873, he bequeathed the business to Courtney. While maintaining the original shop and its traditions, Courtney expanded into the international arms trade. With loans and sales of public stock, he was able to build a plant at 12 Delverell Street for the manufacture of heavy ordnance. Today, the firm is debt-free and very profitable. Of course, a drop in the share price occurred when the news of my brother's death. Who is ascended to the presidency? Asks Watson. Courtney's picked successor, Philip Marlowe, the second vice president. And why not the first vice president? Young Lord Ragland, who runs the Deverell Street plant, is a brilliant technician, but a most inept businessman. Who inherits your brother's stock? His wife, Beatrice. Now, I think we might examine the effects found with your brother. So saying, Holmes turns his attention to a briefcase and a large brown envelope. It looks as if some sharp object has been used on it, comments Watson, referring to a long gouge on the leather of the briefcase. Yes, it's practically brand new. I gave it to Courtney for his birthday last January 6th. Oh, for his last birthday, January 6th. So, 2 months ago. As you can see, it is locked. The police found it that way. Courtney kept the key on a chain attached to his watch fob. The watch, of course, was stolen. With a quick flick of the wrist, springs the lock open. Oh, wait, no, I skipped. Holmes retrieves a long piece of wire from the coal scuttle. After gaining Allen's permission, he inserts it into the lock, and with a quick flick of the wrist, springs the lock. He pulls out 2 folders for examination. Each is filled with company papers and is coded to indicate its contents. One, marked MB-C, for instance, concerns various coal mine leases. Another, marked S-87-U, contains a listing of sales to the U.S. government during the preceding year. Holmes then empties the contents of the envelope onto the table. The inventory includes spectacles and case, a ruby ring, a gold wedding band, a keychain with keys, an empty wallet, a small notebook, and a note. I've already spotted an inconsistency. The wallet was found empty, yet it's in the briefcase.
It's in a locked briefcase.
Yeah.
The key was allegedly stolen. Okay, moving on.
Wait. Are we sure?
It says
No, he dumps the envelope. The envelope and the briefcase are 2 separate things. The envelope is what was found on him. On his fingers were rings. In his wallet was empty. Holmes moved on to the envelope after he emptied the briefcase of its documents.
a briefcase and a large brown envelope.
Yeah. So the large brown envelope is where he got the rings. But if you were robbed,
Why would you take a pocket watch and the contents of a wallet but leave behind?
a ruby ring and a
Ruby
gold
ring.
wedding band.
Well, those were in the briefcase, though.
No,
No, they were in
Oh,
the
they were in
a
envelope.
large envelope.
A briefcase and a large
So
envelope.
inside the briefcase was documents,
Right.
2 different documents. One concerning the U.S. government, the other one we don't know exactly.
But I
what
read
was
it.
concerning
I read
coal
it the
mines.
same way that you read it the first time too.
Yeah.
An empty wallet, a small notebook with a note.
What's the note say?
Seizing on the notebook, Holmes observed, "Can you tell us who Captain Egan might be, Mr. Allen? I've never heard that name." "And Billy?" "Billy is Courtney's secretary, William Linhart." Holmes compares the writing in the notebook with that of the note. They appear to be identical. He nods and says, "I believe we have enough to begin our investigation."
We don't know
No,
Probably
I mean,
one
I
of
have
those
I have this who
But it
bishops.
says to
Bishop's
ignore the
F.
pictures.
yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
That is oddly it's oddly explicit. I think this is actually part of it because, like, who's Captain Egan? Captain Egan, 8:30 p.m.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah. Anyways, after Allen has gone, Wiggins comments that his hand gestures were most intriguing. Combining infinite subtlety with tremendous force, it is easy to imagine that he has no trouble making his wishes known on the floor of London Stock Exchange. "I don't recall Allen giving out his occupation," says Watson, puzzled. "No," replies Wiggins, "but certain phrases he spoke, coupled with the pencil notations on his left shirt cuff, stock prices, surely led me to conclude that he was a stockbroker." "Excellent, Wiggins. Well, Watson, our young man has come a long way since the days you described him as a dirty little street urchin, eh?" Thank you, Mr. Holmes, but after all, I was taught by the master. True, says Holmes, matter-of-factly. Quite true. Okay, so I pick one of these.
Yeah, so it seems like. Can I read the description real quick?
Yeah.
It seems like then, from what we have, it's going to give us all of the different leads that Holmes may have made, the connections he may have made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is a whole separate paragraph. So he pulls out the folder for examination, each filled with the company papers, and is coded to indicate its contents. One is NBC, for instance, concerning various coal mines. The other, marked S87U, contains listing for sales of weapons to the United States government the preceding year. And the next paragraph, even though it's hard to tell, it's the next paragraph. Holmes then empties the contents of the envelope. Okay. Spectacles. So he had glasses in a case, a ruby ring, a gold wedding band, keychain with keys. Do we know that the keychain with the keys wasn't good?
We don't know what it's for.
So we didn't even try it on the...
Well, because he said he keeps the key on the watch.
Yeah, but... Okay.
So I think the restaurant, probably not too big of a lead.
Okay.
Well, was it the restaurant a couple of nights previous?
Yeah, where Mr. Allen, Richard Allen, and Courtney were having dinner, and he was like,
Right.
I gotta go.
Right. So they gave us information about the restaurant. We know that he was having an affair, or his brother believed he was having an affair of some sort. That doesn't mean he was. He just led his
Right.
brother to believe that he was.
So I'll
So
take that back.
there's a bunch of different options, and so you kind of got to choose which one you think is the appropriate one, and try to cover up the others so that you don't read too much.
Well, I think I need the directory
The directory, and then
to find
you're
out.
supposed to be able to read the newspaper at any time.
I believe I am. Let me go back. Go back. William Linhart was the secretary, and Captain Egan. Never heard of that name. So we have two people to kind of check out: Billy, aka William, aka Billy, and Captain Egan.
Captain Egan. Sure.
So I think the obvious place would be to start with Billy.
Okay. So what do we know about Billy?
It's his secretary.
We know he's listed in the directory, right? Billy.
I
He'd
think
probably
if we
be
go
under
in the
William.
directory,
It'd be
I
under
think that
Linhart.
is
Linhart.
following the lead.
Is it last name first?
Yes. Linhart, William, 61 EC.
Okay, 61. So we know EC.
So am I just supposed to like skip over all
You're
of these?
supposed to look for EC
This is
area.
EC.
EC.
So and then
61.
find the one that says
Okay.
61.
61.
Open. And
Leather.
Okay.
Now, are you supposed to read it out loud to all of us?
I think
or-
so.
I
think
believe
we're-
so.
Yeah, we're a team. We're working together.
Okay.
There's no secrecy.
Either we all win or we all lose together. So yeah.
So 61 EC. We find the apartment of the Linhart family without any difficulty. We barely have the time to explain the reason for our visit before Mrs. Mabel Linhart, William's mother, begins offering us all sorts of things to eat and drink. She's a lovely old lady who begins to sob violently when she remembers that the nice hat Mr. Allen had delivered to her for her birthday the day before his death. We sympathize, offer her our handkerchiefs, and share some of her homemade caramels, which after a while allows us to confront her. Finally, we ask her where her son was on the night of March 9th. At home with me all night. My Billy is such a good boy.
Okay.
So, reading this, she was one of the few last people to see him alive because he had visited her the night before. He delivered a hat to her.
Right?
Okay,
Okay.
that's all we know so far.
But it gave us Billy's alibi.
Yes, so
Very strong alibi. So one of the things that I don't know exactly how this game is supposed to work, because it feels like while we're going through that, one of us should be scouring the newspaper because there's really important information here.
okay, well,
So,
let me take a look at
and I
the.
don't think that it has anything to do with the following of leads. I think we have to do the two in conjunction if we want to finish the game in any kind of reasonable amount of time. We're going to have to follow leads and read the newspaper at the same time.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. So, Laura, so the leads that we have are, so what I would do is, you know what the evidence is, right? Given the evidence, what would you look for? Who would you investigate? What would you investigate?
Well, if he was leaving the diner to go see somebody, and we know that there was a notation in a notebook of Captain Egan.
At 8 p.m., right?
Again, it says to ignore the pictures,
Oh.
but because this is technically Thursday, March 8th, but he was murdered on the 9th, right?
Yeah, so there's no
Oh wait, no, there are multiple dates on here. Excuse me, and it was at 8 p.m.
8 p.m. It says, so even though I think early on it
Does it
said,
say
It did
Surprise.
say
to
to ignore.
images.
but I don't know what images it meant.
Well, so it says planned 8 a.m. surprise. I think that it meant to be like a surprise inspection at the plant.
Mhm.
But again, it did
Yeah,
say
it
to
did.
ignore the
But
the
there-
pictures. But
There's so
I mean, but
that.
there's like this.
But that, yeah, I think that's what it's talking about. Those
Right.
are.
But you know,
Oh, the
like
leads.
this. Meet tonight, 8:30, your office. You know, I mean, those. It does say that there's no necessarily correspondence between the photographs or the pictures.
The illustrations, but not the text. So it says the illustrations that come along with the text. So I don't know.
But his name was specifically. He specifically said Captain Egan.
Right. So we already know that.
Okay, so in the newspaper here, we do have a section for burglaries.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, the press and public generally should force our timid, halting officials to take energetic action against certain forms of crime. May I suggest that 1, any person committing a burglary or robbery from the person accompanied by violence or brutality be flogged. I think these are just
If
suggested punishments.
Yeah.
if he was hurt, that would make it a robbery.
Well, he was
Well,
killed.
He was killed.
Right, which means he was hurt.
Well,
Well, that's,
Any burglary or thief having upon him a revolver or other distinctly murderous weapon be flogged. The police force be increased, especially mounted patrols in certain localities. 4, certain constables be armed with revolvers. 5, the police generally have a free hand in dealing with the crimes of robbery or violence. 6, more activities among the members of the police force be insisted on by the police chief commissioner. 7, the public should be officially informed as to the legality of otherwise of using firearms in defense of their lives and property. Experience shows, however, the futility of expecting the authorities ever to take the lead in these matters. They never do anything until forced. Yours faithfully, one of the public.
so it was just a letter. Someone wrote that whole
Yeah.
letter to the letter to the editor. So I thought it was interesting that there's some information about international arms sales on the back side.
Wait, I was just actually about to ask: is there anything directly related to?
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 different places where I noticed.
Arms trade fair closes. The International Arms Trade Fair, which opened at the Royal Agricultural Hall March 4th, closed yesterday with a 21-gun salute to the Queen, which reverberated around the city. The closing ceremonies began earlier in the awarding of gold medals for excellence. Accepting 5 medals on behalf of the Krupp Works was the Countess von Schulenburg, bride of 5 months to the German military attaché, and the archetype of the fair-haired Rhine maiden, A gold medal was also awarded to the Associate Basri Freres and accepted by Emile Zobar, French military attaché. Hector de Guerrera, military attaché to the Spanish embassy, stirred the large crowd with a magnificent speech. The affair was marred by several demonstrators sporting anti-arms placards. Alexei Meshkov, Russian military attaché, was struck in the head by a tomato.
Okay. So we know that there's people around the city that don't like arms dealers.
Fatal explosion of shell. St. Petersburg, March 11th.
Suspected thief found strangled.
The body of Pierre Matin, suspected international jewel thief, was found earlier yesterday floating in the Thames. He had apparently been strangled to death. Although Matin, a citizen of France, had been detained by authorities in many countries in connection with various thefts over the years, he had never been convicted of any crime. The police have no suspects at this time, but report the murderer must be powerfully built, as the physical evidence indicates the victim was strangled with bare hands. Okay.
We know that the jewels in his ring were still on his body.
Right.
Right. So, one of the other ones I saw was that there was a daylight robbery, and then also something about diamonds that may not necessarily correlate to this being.
So you think we should follow the Captain Egan?
I do. That's what's. I mean, the
think
fact
that's
that
a
he was
great idea.
specifically mentioned it leads me to believe that that is something that we should follow.
We should figure out what time. So wait, when did, what day did this guy visit Billy's mom?
On the 8th, March 8th.
So
It was
the
the
night
day
before.
before, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then she said the next day that he was home with her at the time
That Billy was home.
that Billy was home. So,
But do we know what time of day this guy actually died?
well, we do know that he was found at approximately 7 p.m. So it would be.
So right
This
now,
is the
all we
street.
know is sometime between 8 p.m. one night, 7 p.m. the next night, which gives us a 23-hour window.
But didn't he was at dinner with his brother though, right?
But we don't know what time
He
that
left.
was, right?
Right.
So
we know for
We know-
sure that we don't know what happened to him between
When
8
he
and
left.
Okay. Oh no. So the night before he was killed, I popped around to his office about 5:30 and coaxed him to supper.
right. So the night before he was killed, which is the same night that he
visited
Visited
Billy's mom
Billy's mom.
mom. Wink, wink.
and gave her a hat.
That's what's weird.
Right.
Okay. So
Did he give
that's
her
what
a
I was-
hat for his birthday or for her
For her
birthday?
birthday.
So
or
that's what I was tracking.
So I think Austin,
I
we need a
think
piece
that
of
he
we need a
left-
piece of scratch paper. I think.
He left dinner with his brother in order to go visit Billy's mom.
right. But Billy's mom is quite apparently
An older lady.
older lady.
He could be
We
a
don't
he could be
know.
a cougar chaser.
You are.
We don't know how old he is. How old is the guy that's dead? Oh. Well,
Yeah,
we have some
that cabinet.
somewhere. Yeah, look in the cabinet. next to you. Look in the next
Is that
cabinet.
a-
Look all around. We had some somewhere. So one of the things we don't know is we don't know how old this guy was.
We don't
right?
exactly.
And we know that Billy's mom is in her 60s, but that doesn't mean.
Well, we don't know an age.
Well,
it
we
just
don't
says an
know.
older,
I thought
She's
older
just an
lady.
older lady.
Oh,
yeah.
older lady. That's all we get is
Okay.
older lady.
So the
We
only
might be out of paper.
Egan that is listed here is a John Egan
Okay.
at 47 Northwest.
John Egan.
It's only it's not that far away from Holmes. Holmes is here. 47's here.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Come on, I got paper in my room. Oh, there's probably paper in the closet too.
bum, bum, bum. Who done it?
I don't know. The butler?
Captain Egan.
I'm going with Mrs. Linhart.
The kindly old lady was home making caramels. How could she have done it?
It was his girlfriend / wife.
It could have been the wife.
Could have been a wife.
It could have been the wife.
I mean, she does said to inherit
How,
quite.
does it say how he died?
No, it just said that he was found.
We don't know how he died.
Oh, shot to death in an alley behind his office.
It was the wife.
Women are usually women usually
spurned wife.
use poison.
Love knife?
Love knife.
Love knife.
Have you not heard of a love knife?
I cannot say that I have heard of a love knife.
It's
Divorce
when
knife?
I have heard of a divorce knife.
they're pretty close to the same thing.
In our species, if we wish to divorce our mate, we attempt to kill them. If you haven't watched it, guys, go watch the Orville. Fantastic series.
Divorce knife.
There's a species called the Mocklins. They're generally an all male society, and when they are no longer happy with their mate and they want a divorce, they try to kill him. But it's Seth MacFarlane's homage or tribute to Star Trek, the Next Generation. Really good show. It's on Hulu. Go check it out. Hulu, you owe us $15.
Pending the end of COVID-19, hopefully returning for season 3 soon.
That would be cool.
It does take a long time for the seasons to come out because there's a lot of CG work to be done.
CG work is amazing though.
Yeah,
It really
the
is.
CG work in that show is just phenomenal. It's just
Phenomena.
phenomenal. Something like a phenomenon. Where's my school back there? Okay, so did you decide to go to Egan?
I think
The only Egan listed?
I mean,
the only
wife.
Egan listed, yeah.
So check Egan.
Let's
Then wife.
let's look at the directory. Is there a Beatrice or is it just the Allens?
Well, I would assume it would be Alan, Beatrice, or well, actually, technically, it would be Courtney probably.
It's by last name is.
His name is Courtney.
Yeah, Courtney Allen.
Okay. Well, that
And-
is definitely and always will be an option, is to visit the house with the wife.
Of course.
Okay.
Okay. What the hell were we writing in here?
Okay, so we know
So he was
he was
Dinner, approximately
the night before.
dinner the night before.
Sometime after
approximately 5:30.
March 8th.
Mm-hmm. We know that he went to visit William's mom.
Sometime. You should be writing this. It's more legible.
Only one of us here has good writing.
Okay, so
Sometime
5:30.
Sometime after 5.
So he left dinner and went and visited
A woman.
Allegedly.
His brother thinks he went and visited a woman. We know for sure at some point thereafter he visited Billy's mom and brought her a hat for her birthday.
what
right?
was that?
61 East West?
No.
61 East Central. It's right
East
here.
Central. Well, that's West Central.
This is East
C.
Central.
You were just pointing at.
This
Oh,
is East Central.
61 EC. So
So it doesn't actually say when he visited her.
what does it say?
We find the apartment of the Linhart family without any difficulty. We barely have the time to explain the reason for our visit before Miss Mabel Linhart, William's mother, begins offering us all sorts of things to eat and drink. She is a lively old lady who begins to sob violently when she remembers the nice hat that Mr. Allen had delivered to her for her birthday the day before his death.
when did we get.
We
So
sympathize.
lively old lady suggests that she's much older than 60.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, but you have to consider this is also the 1800s, and 60
that's
was
true.
relatively
60
old
dead,
back then.
yeah.
So technically, we don't know when he delivered the hat
We
at
don't.
all.
We don't.
All we know is that he delivered it on the 8th. Bless you.
So what we know is he delivered a hat on the 8th, question mark time. We know that he allegedly visited a lady
His last known whereabouts are about 5:30. Before that,
so far.
yeah, so far. And he was found shot to death.
Shot to death.
Okay, so visiting Mr. Egan, Captain Egan.
Okay, what did we learn from Captain Egan? Or whoever Egan is. We don't even know if it's Captain Egan. Because,
Egon?
Because there's only one Egan in the directory, right?
Correct, John Egan.
We don't know if John Egan is even Captain Egan.
Correct. But that is the only Egan that is listed in the book.
And he's at 47.
I had it, and then
Right.
I lost it.
Let me borrow the pen.
47 Northwest.
47 Northwest. What?
I'm just trying to track my phone down.
Okay, so 47 Northwest. We are told by Captain Egan's landlady, whom we suspect was once a boatswain's mate on a man of war, that he is at the Admiralty.
Okay. So, that is Captain Egan.
That is
His
Captain
name
Egan.
is Captain John Egan. And
Is
he's
it boatswain?
at the Admiralty.
He's at the Admiralty.
So, if we want to talk to Captain Egan, we have to go to the
We
Admiralty.
have to go to the Admiralty.
Okay.
That's all it says?
That's all it says.
All it says.
Wow.
That
Awesome.
was a very.
God, dang it.
I'm actually almost thinking that maybe it was one of those too obvious clues.
Right. Yeah. A clue that was too obvious. Okay, well, that would make it my turn to choose a place to go. I don't see anything that I'm really kind of taking note of.
I think we should go to the Allen residence.
I'm wondering why.
Well, if we are not ignoring the pictures and we are gathering information, what about the person who runs the factory?
What about where is William?
William.
Well, William.
Billy.
Where
He-
is Billy?
We don't know. He was with his mom
The night of the murder.
The night of the murder. Well,
that
we don't
day. Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't know
know.
because we don't.
In the evening of the 8th, he was with his mom.
No, the evening of the 9th. She breaks down in tears and says that he was with her all night.
And
He's
Billy's
such a good boy.
Right, but he could have left in the morning. Still,
We don't. Yeah, because we don't know.
We don't know the time of death.
time of death.
We don't know that.
We only know.
We know when he was
Can we go
found.
to the coroner? Can we go? Okay, what are my options?
Look at the.
But no. Go back.
Let me see the roll.
Go back to. I'm gonna actually make notes as to when.
Medical examiner. Okay,
where
hold on.
we've been.
Informants. This is how we get our. Let's see. So we can go to the head medical examiner, the criminologist, the police, the archivist, the records and births, lawyer at Old Bailey, owner of the Raven and Rat, member of the Criminal Underground, reporter for the London Times, reporter for the Police Gazette, eminent Grise, source of information, Mycroft. Social columnist, meeting point, librarian of the London. Okay, so we can go to any of these places.
I think a medical examiner or the police.
I was thinking medical examiner. I'd like to know time of death.
If we
That makes
if we
sense.
have
If
that
it can
information.
if it can be established. So I'm going to 38 EC is where I'm going.
So you're gonna look in the book for EC 31.
Well, she has the directory.
No, you have the address.
Oh,
You literally have
I
the
don't
address.
have to look there?
No,
No.
because you literally have the address. So you're gonna find the ECs.
ECs. 38 EC. So Jasper Meeks explains that Allen was shot in the chest at close range, from a distance of 2 feet, no more. There was extensive gunpowder burns on his overcoat. Do you have the bullet? No, but it must have been large of caliber. The exit wound was massive. I think it was given to this crazy old Murray. The bullet was given to a crazy old Murray?
Okay.
Okay, so we know that he was shot at close range. We know that
With a large caliber.
large caliber created a huge hole.
But we still have no time of
We
death.
still have no time of death. Ooh.
It's okay.
So,
Okay.
That's the exit wound, right?
yeah.
What is what was the location on that?
38.
38 EC. That was Jasper Meeks, the medical examiner.
So real quick, can we go back and look at 61 EC?
What was 61 EC?
That was the
That was the
Linhart
Hart
family
family.
apartment.
I want to confirm when, because she said that it was the night of the murder. He was there with her all night, right?
That's it.
Night
Yeah.
That's
March 9th.
the night of March 9th. Okay.
Yeah.
So if he was there all night, but we don't know when he got there because we don't know when the murder actually happened at this
Right.
point. Okay.
Right.
We don't know when the body was found, actually, either.
7 p.m.
It was found at 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we still have a huge amount of time that is not accounted for.
Huge amount. Okay, so
Huge-
Austin, you have a
huge
list of
time.
informants that we can talk to, or we can talk to anybody in the book. We could talk to
You can think of anybody who's been mentioned, and we can look up their name in the directory.
yeah.
What
So
else do we know? So
we have the home still of.
so we don't know if he went to work that day. We don't know if he saw William that day.
We have
don't
Richard
know-
Richard Allen, who is the brother. We still can technically go and talk to him. I think probably maybe, even though
I mean, it makes sense that we'd be able to ask him more questions.
we have the second vice president and the vice president that we could talk to.
What about the so the vice president?
Is the plant manager,
Is
but
the
he's
plant
horrible
manager.
at business.
Right.
So,
Right.
but
He might be upset.
if we're going based on that notation there, he had a surprise inspection at the plant. So if he showed
Well,
up,
we
with-
don't know.
well,
we don't know if it was a
yeah,
surprise.
again,
it just says surprise.
It just says surprise.
Plant 8 a.m. surprise.
So, yeah, I
mean-
used the word inspection, but we need to retrace his steps to find out where he's been, to find out
But
who
given the
is all
text,
talking.
we don't have that information,
right.
and we don't know if we,
We are
can
giving
trust
the kid's
that.
name, right? In the text, we have two names. We have the vice president's name, first vice president, and second vice president's name. So we can look up.
Captain Egan might be.
I think it's a little bit back more when
Yeah,
they're
we
talking
already-
about
Who inherits.
who's going to be the successor.
Philip Marlowe, the second vice president.
Okay, Philip, can you write that down on your note? Philip Marlowe is second vice president.
Marlowe with an E.
And keep reading. Who's the first vice president?
Young Lord Raglan
Lord Raglan.
runs the Devereux Street plant. He's a brilliant technician, but a most inept businessman.
Okay.
Why would you make a most inept businessman your first VP?
Because he runs the plant and he was there longer. So a lot of times, because we know that the business was built basically from a tiny little shop, so the first thing they did was hire a plant manager, and that plant manager was there for so long that he was the first VP.
Possibly.
I mean, that's just how life is. Whoever joined the company first
Right.
would be the first VP. All right, Austin, who do you want to visit?
Lord Raglan.
You want to visit Lord Ragland, okay?
So you need the
So-
directory here.
The directory. Art. Ragland.
keeping track of our leads.
Yep.
56 southwest.
Okay,
So in that book, you don't really need to
56
look at this so
southwest.
much. It's only when we have something where, like, oh, well, I was walking from here to here. That's
Okay.
when we need the map, really.
Lord Raglan has a huge paragraph. Okay, you ready?
Would you like me to read
I
it?
was going to say,
That
do you
would
want
be
me to read it?
Which is it? 56?
56.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Lord Raglan's man, Bunting, admits us to the residence and shows us into the study to wait. We are almost as impressed by Lord Raglan's establishment as we are with Lord Raglan himself when he arrives. At 30, he is the picture of the English gentleman, impeccably groomed with a grace and style at once attractive and forbidding. The introductions completed, he separates himself from us by walking to the other side of the desk. Seating himself, he asks us to begin. Before we can, however, he notices an envelope on the desk and immediately calls for Bunting. Drummond's has slipped up again. See that this is posted immediately. Excuse me, gentlemen. Debit where a credit should be, or some such. Please begin. On the night of Mr. Allen's murder, he had an appointment with Captain Egan. Yes, the purchasing officer for naval ordnance at the Admiralty. We were working on a secret project for the Admiralty, and Courtney was concerned about one of the engineers, Richard Camp, being a security risk. We discussed it in the morning. I gave no credence to that idea. Lord Raglan pauses to that idea. Lord Raglan pauses to reach into a small silver box. From it, he draws forth a cigarette which has a B and H printed on it in gold leaf. He inserts it into an ebony cigarette holder, lights it, and leans back. Without our prompting, he continues. No, Camp is a fine fellow, but as a concession to Egan, I removed him from the project and assigned him elsewhere. Tragic, Courtney's death. To think that I had intended to stop by the offices that evening, but was first forced to work late at the plant. If I had, perhaps the thief would have thought twice before attacking two of us. Were you disappointed about not being named president? You were, after all, senior vice president. Not a bit of it. I'm quite happy in my work in the technical areas. Administrative matters do not interest me. Besides, one of the Marlowe's conditions of employment was that he succeeds Courtney when Courtney retired. Of course, that would not have been for many years. Thank you, Lord Raglan.
Okay.
So now we have someone with motive.
Richard Camp
I think it's a false clue.
and
Right.
Philip Marlowe.
And we know that Captain.
So we know that Philip Marlowe had motive because
He knows
if Courtney
this person.
dies, he takes the business.
Right.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we know that
Richard Camp being a security risk.
right.
But if he was removed from the project,
Would he necessarily go after Courtney though?
we
maybe.
don't.
We
Well, we don't know. I mean,
We don't
if
know anything about
we
him.
don't know anything about him. So
Other than Lord Henry says that he's a good dude, which I am going to take Lord Henry's opinion. Sounds like a good dude. Lord Henry impressed me.
I'm stuck.
because the storyline told me that Lord Henry impressed me. Okay, so we definitely have two people that have motive. The one person we still haven't talked to is Egan, and Egan is at the Admiralty, and this lead has taken us to the Admiralty as well.
Yes.
So I'm guessing that Egan was their contact for this secret project.
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense.
So we need to go to the Admiralty. That's my opinion. John, what would you like to do?
My thought on this matter.
Oh, we still haven't talked to the wife?
Yeah.
We haven't talked to the wife.
We haven't talked to the wife. We haven't found Billy because he's
We haven't found Billy.
in the wind.
Mm-hmm.
We do know that, according to Lord Egan, he stayed late at the plant working.
Right.
And he said that he wasn't interested in taking over the business
He
Right,
wouldn't
right.
have benefited simply from.
from the death.
From the death.
Simply from the death that doesn't benefit him.
You don't want to share fun with me anymore?
It's just easier if I grab one.
Okay. So what are you thinking?
Well,
the
we have
Admiralty, the
We have
wife.
two counts to the Admiralty that are being directed there.
Yep.
However,
You know he was shot at.
I
Can I see the
don't
informant's list?
disagree about going to the wife. I like the idea of going to the Admiralty. Yeah, what are our informants?
okay. So when you said the bullet went to Murray, H.R. Murray, criminologist, he analyzes all items and substances found during cases.
Oh, so that's why the bullet went to Murray.
Bullet went to Murray.
Oh.
Okay, so our informants are Sir Jasper Meeks, head medical. We've already talked to Meeks. We have H.R. Murray. We have Scotland Yard. Police, represented by Inspectors Lestrade and Gregson. They have reports and details relating to the case. We have Disraeli O'Brien, archivist with the Office of National Archives, compiles legal and criminal records. We have Somerset House, records of birth, death, marriages, and wills. Free access. We have Edward Hall, lawyer at the Old Bailey Court, source of information on court cases and legal affairs. We have Porky Shinwell, yes, Porky Shinwell,
All right.
owner of the Raven and Rat Pub, source of information on all illegal affairs and underworld figures.
Porky.
Fred Porlock, member of the Criminal Underground, leaves coded information about the activities of Moriarty, leader of the Criminal Underground and sworn enemy of Holmes, at the Parson and Sons toy shop. Oh, Parson and Son. Henry Ellis, reporter on the London Times. Quentin Hogg, reporter of the Police Gazette. So I think we either need to go to Murray or we need to go to Scotland Yard.
I agree.
I think Scotland Yard because they have details about the case.
Yeah.
Would kind of everybody agree that our next step should be finding more information?
Let's find out what Scotland Yard knows.
Yeah.
Wait. Bullet went to
Bullet went to the criminologist.
criminology.
I don't really care about the bullet because I don't have any weapons to compare it to.
Right.
So my choice would be
Scotland Yard.
Admiralty still, but that's because that's what I want to do. That's why you're the lead investigator on your term. I don't want you to investigate the lead. I want to investigate.
It's fine. I'll investigate my lead, Bob. Okay. Inspector Lestrade is busy behind a stack of papers and has very little time for us. Alan's wallet was found empty. He regularly carried as much as 30 pounds pocket money. His gold watch was missing. His briefcase was locked tight. Simple robbery and nothing more. I'm surprised Holmes is wasting his time on this case. I sincerely hope he finds the culprit. However, things have come to pretty much pass when common footpads resort to firearms. Who was the officer who found the body? Beadle. If you think it'll do some good, I'll notify him to meet you at the crime scene. Good day.
Not very helpful, is he?
Not very helpful. We wasted a
Completely
lead.
useless.
So we basically already had the information except for
We now know who the officer was.
Beetle. So we can address the officer directly.
how do you spell beetle?
Beadle.
He will meet us at the
Crime scene.
crime scene if we want to go to the crime scene.
So if we go to the crime scene, we're going to meet Officer Beetle. Okay.
And we also know that generally he carried about 30 pounds. That may or may not
We
be
don't know if that's a lot.
If
It's probably
that's-
a lot.
if that's even
In
relevant.
1883 or 1888.
Inflation.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Let me see $1. Nobody's ever seen $1.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Prove it. Let me see that. Let's see that dollar.
Take your hat off, boy. That's the goddamn $.
So, I would like to go to the crime scene.
So you want to talk to Beetle?
I want to talk to Beetle. I think that the crime scene, there may be things that obviously, since Scotland Yard has pretty much written this off, there's probably stuff there that they haven't looked at. And there's probably things that
Okay, well,
are
how do
going
we
to
find
present-
the crime scene?
well, it was the alley behind his office where his body was discovered,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what
Where is his office? Well, we know where part of it is. 12 Southeast is something. What is 12 Southeast? I think that's where the body is. 12 Southeast?
Deverell Street?
What does 12 Southeast say?
12 Deverell Street is the plant.
Oh, that's where the plant is.
that's where
Okay.
the plant is. Okay.
So that is not the office. That is the plant.
Alan was found shot to death.
What's the name of the company?
Grant Arms Company.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna read that again.
Okay, 5EC.
Hang on.
5.
13.
1, 2, 3, 4. 5.
Old Street.
5, right there.
Yes, but we need the
No,
alley behind it.
EC 5. That's all you need to know.
It said
We can't look at up by an alley street. We only have letters and numbers. We can't
So
look
yeah,
at
it just says Beetle. If you think we'll do some good, I'll notify him to meet you at the crime scene.
Mm-hmm.
We don't actually know where the crime scene is.
Well, we know where the office
Well,
is.
we know where he
5
was.
EC.
We know where he was found.
Yeah, so 5 EC.
See,
is
so
where he was found.
so it says in the recent death of my brother. Okay, Alan was found shot to death in an alley behind his office on the evening of March 9th at approximately 7 p.m.
Yeah.
So
The alley behind the
generally, I mean, where the body is found, unless the body was moved, that's the crime scene,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep. Well, that's the only
Even
crime
if
scene
the
we know
body
of.
was moved, it
That
would be-
we're aware of, yeah. So what did it say?
5 EC.
5EC.
I just think it's weird that he was found near the alley, near his office.
Okay. This is a actually significant bit of information.
This, there's a reaction in here. In yesterday's retraction, in yesterday's paper, we mistakenly reported Jesse Fryer had died. He's alive and well. Our apologies.
That sounds like me.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. We meet Constable Beetle behind the Grant Arms Company in the alley parallel to Leonard Street. I notice a strange lump up the alley. I knew right off that something was amiss. My instinct for the out of place, you might say. Watch your step there. The cobbling hereabouts is in a bad way. Many a jagged edge just made for tripping a man. We have strolled 30 feet or so from the base of the stairway that leads to the offices of Grant Arms to arrive at the juncture of a T formed with another alley that leads to Old Street. It was right here, and sad to say, it was not a lump at all. Now the victim was lying on his back, the force of the bullet having thrown him backwards. The briefcase was lying right beside the body, waist high. The wallet was lying a few feet away. The victim's overcoat was thrown open and his pocket watch was missing, but part of the chain was still attached to the vest. He was quite dead, but there was still some warmth in his bare hands, so I couldn't have missed the blighter by much. So, if his body is still warm and he was found at 7 p.m., he was killed
between 6:30 and
between 6:30 and or 6 and 7. I mean,
Yeah.
at the very least. Now, I figure the perpetrator must have hid in that shed just up the second alley. When the victim approached, he jumped out and fired point blank. As you can see, it's but 5 feet from the shed to where the body lay. We thank Constable Beadle for his time and trouble. He goes back on patrol, but we linger a moment at the scene from the shed Wiggins calls to us. Seems both Scotland Yard and our perpetrator have been quite careless. His open palm reveals the remains of a cigarette. On it are the letters B and H in gold leaf. The tip end is pinched evenly all around.
So it's been put in an ebony cigarette holder.
It's put in a cigarette holder. Beaming, Wiggins suggests that we adjourn to the offices of the Grant Arms Company to interview Allen's private secretary. Our unorthodox means of entry via the back stairway startles a young man we meet in the corridor. Fair-haired and pleasant-featured, he turns out to be William Lindhart. After introductions are made and we are seated in Lindhart's office, Wiggins asks him a question that has been nagging at all of us since the beginning. What was Mr. Allen doing in the alley? Any time he worked after hours, which was often, he would leave here by the back way. It was a short walk to Old Street where the traffic was heavier and a cab more likely to be hailed. So anyone who had a passing knowledge of Mr. Allen's habits, company employees, or even business acquaintances would certainly have been aware of that practice. Yes, that is so. That evening, Mr. Allen was scheduled to meet with a Captain Egan at 8:30. Can you tell us who Captain Egan is? He is the ordnance officer in charge of purchasing for the Admiralty. Do you know what the meeting was about? He and Mr. Allen often met to discuss the special project undertaken for the Admiralty some months ago, but I was unaware of that particular meeting. Mr. Allen regularly delivered progress reports, but always during the day, and I always made the appointments. I remember that Mr. Allen asked me to put the SP number 10 folder into his briefcase. It surprised me because I was not aware of an appointment with Captain Egan. Could you tell us about this special project? It is very secret, but I suppose I can say that it involves the development of a new type of naval gun. Were there problems with the project? None that I'm aware of. Mr. Allen was very concerned about security, though. While we do not sell arms to foreign powers, there are certain weapons that are reserved exclusively for our own government. Special Project Number 10 was such a one. Was Mr. Allen's concern over security based on a specific incident or centered on a specific person? The existence of the project was common knowledge, so I'm sure he expected a certain amount of, spying. He called in Lord Ragland to discuss the matter after several strange people were seen hanging around the Devereux Street plant. Why would the plant be under surveillance? All of the technical data, blueprints, formulas, that type of thing, are housed there. Our offices are entirely administrative, so we do not keep any confidential documents in here. Mr. Allen's brother believes that he was having an affair at the time of his death. Realizing that this is a delicate matter, would you know who the lady might have been? No, I don't. Over the years, I have always known about Mr. Allen's peccadillos, but only in the most general way. We would be working and something would trigger a cryptic remark that obviously had to do with his personal life. For example, just after the International Arms Fair opened, he received a scented letter on pink stationery. Later that day, he was dictating a memo to Lord Ragland when he stopped and picked it up. He took a full whiff of it and said out loud, "Women often marry for a title, but they won't necessarily fall in love for one." Then he laughed and went on with the memo. "You're now secretary of the new President, Mr. Marlowe." Yes, he was Mr. Allen's hand-picked successor, which perfectly illustrates the kind of man Mr. Allen was. There was no love lust between them, and yet recognizing Marlowe's outstanding business acumen, he named him as his heir, so to speak. Thank you, Mr. Lindhart. You've been very helpful.
Who was the person he was in a meeting with when he smelled the...
Ragland.
Ragland. So Ragland killed him because he's forcing his wife.
Yeah.
Well, that was...
Was Austin's alarm? My alarm's going to go off here shortly, too. So it was Raglan. He killed him because he's porking his wife.
Yeah, well, the cigarette was there.
See, he paid him back for a debt.
Paid him back.
Remember, he had a letter on the.
Oh, debits and credits and all that. Go back to the
Yeah, payback, as it were. The marriages.
The arms fair.
Oh, the arms fair.
Yeah.
So we have the Countess von Schluchenberg,
Oh, yeah.
who was there, and if this
Do we know
letter
anything about
just
her?
happened to arrive on
And
that same
So
date,
we know that whoever
Women
sent the
married
letter,
for a title,
Right.
not for love.
Mm-hmm.
So it's somebody.
Countess von Schulenburg,
Yep. So
Bride
she
of-
is the one that.
bride of 5 months to the German military attaché.
Oh, bride of 5 months.
oh, so a new
A new.
bride.
new-
Okay, so the German military attaché in the archetype of the fair-haired Rhine maiden.
There was quite a bit of
There's
information
a lot going on in there.
that we picked up from this crime scene.
That was a big one.
So,
Should have gone to the crime scene first.
right.
Okay, so
Yeah.
So
learned our
now
lesson.
we know. Lesson learned.
Lesson
yes.
learned. From now on, we probably should check the crime scene first.
So,
Okay, so there were strange people hanging around the plant.
Right. So, strange people around the plant.
we also
All of the secret documents were being in the plant. We know that they were developing a new gun.
Courtney's
so that
route was pretty well.
Everyone knew his route.
everyone knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also have
Not everyone, but anyone in the.
Anyone in the know.
anybody who knew him.
So that kind of suggests that because he was killed there, it suggests that somebody who killed him, somebody knew him.
Business partners.
Right.
Whoever killed him knew him well enough that they knew his route.
or at least had
Access to somebody.
access to somebody who did. Because while it is entirely possible that Lord Raglan was involved, he may not have been actually the person
Right.
that
We know that his cigarette was there.
We know that his cigarette was there
right.
in a shed that most likely the perpetrator jumped out of and shot.
Behind, but it was also behind a company that he works for. So
Right.
who's to say that he didn't go out there and smoke a cigarette? I mean,
Yeah.
It's possible.
It's
It's possible.
Occam's razor, whatever's most likely.
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand that. Yeah.
So
But we can't assume anything
no,
at this point.
I think that
we're-
Raglan
yeah.
had. I think that Raglan and the
I was thinking of a different pen this
the
time.
German
yeah.
attaché had an agreement. Well,
An
they were
agreement of some
probably
sort.
working out some kind of a deal to
right.
because the new the secret weapon is supposed to be only for London, like England.
England,
You know,
right.
it's not supposed to be for anybody else. So if he's dealing under the table
Right.
to sell this to Germany, right?
Yeah.
Are you making separate notes?
I was just writing stuff down as you were reading.
Okay.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah, there was a lot to absorb from that.
So I figured if you couldn't write it down, I would.
Okay.
Okay, so the German attaché has a new wife.
Mm-hmm.
The new wife, probably married for title.
Was probably Pork and Allen.
Yeah, it was probably Pork and Allen. So, I also think that Allen was porking the other guy's wife. I think he's pretty much
Porking everybody.
Porking
Because
everybody.
he did say that he had
It was
multiple.
multiple.
Right.
His brothers told us that he had.
And Linhart just did.
Oh yeah.
Well, we don't know if they were all at once or
But throughout
over
the years,
throughout
we
the
know that
years.
he's.
Doesn't matter. Like if you find out, a dish is the best. Revenge is a dish best served cold.
Did you know that actually was a phrase that meant that you should let it smile before you act rashly?
Yes.
That makes sense.
You should do something in cold blood, but
No,
like
no,
you
no,
should
no.
cool down before you make a decision on it.
Well, and it's also
was
meant
like,
you
what?
should plot your revenge.
No,
and not...
it wasn't about plotting. It was about cooling down before you decide how you feel about it. I didn't know that. It wasn't about plotting revenge. Like, that's what we've all... But
Sit and stew on it, and if you feel revenge is still your best option, then go for it.
Plan it out.
yeah, I didn't realize that it was talking about spending time before you make any decisions. And I was like, that's new to me.
Okay.
Anyway.
So now Bob is.
Yeah, I was going to say Bob is now lead.
Okay.
We have a lot of information here.
Okay.
So one of the things that I thought was kind of interesting was that the watch was torn, but was still partly attached, meaning that the key could have still been attached. The chain, yeah. So the chain was still partly attached.
Right.
So whoever got the watch, and we don't know
Where's the key?
Where's the key? Oh, they said they didn't find the key.
They didn't find it. Nobody found it. Okay, wait. So he mentioned a file. Was that file found
SP10.
in
SP10 was,
Was
part
that-
of the briefcase.
it was.
I believe it was.
Secret Project 10? SP10.
SP10.
Seriously? SP10? Seriously?
It would be down here.
Seriously, SP10.
That sounds like a word.
I don't think it was.
SP10.
One marked NBC and one marked
S87U.
S87U.
No SP10.
Oh.
So we know it went into the briefcase, and we know that it wasn't found in the briefcase.
This is true.
Okay.
So we know why he was
The
murdered now.
briefcase was
We-
like
we know.
Somebody murdered him to steal that file. So that we know. So whoever that person is was working with Lord Raglan, because Lord Raglan, we don't know. But we know that he was involved because his cigarette is there. It's not randomly found there, right? Okay.
Right.
Wait, how do we know it's Raglan?
Because the cigarette. So
What about the cigarette?
he had personally embossed cigarettes that have a specific holder,
B&H and
and his
Goldley.
cigarette was found in the shed where whoever jumped
Okay.
out of the shed and murdered Alan.
And he would have access to any prototypes, being that he is the plant manager.
He's the one that had access to all that stuff. Why did Alan have that file? It had
Because of the secret meeting with Egan that
but that,
Billy didn't know about.
Right, but that file doesn't have any secret information.
He said it was
It
general
doesn't show.
information.
It doesn't show plans. It doesn't show schematics.
But it was
just-
literally about Special Project 10.
right, but without plans and without schematics.
But all of the like
It would have been about the buying and selling of that project, not the
Right,
production
but if
of
you
that
know
product.
Where the buying and selling is,
all of the
then you know how to
blueprints
trace it.
and such are kept at the plant.
So it was not about the actual. It's not somebody trying to make one of those. It's somebody trying to get information about who's buying it and who's selling it. So I'm still going to go to the Admiralty.
So let's go talk to Egan.
Because for me, I'm in my head, my two options are talk to the woman that he was seeing, or the husband of the woman that I think he was seeing, or talk to the guy who he was supposed to be having a secret meeting with. And I have a feeling that if we talk to Egan, Egan is going to tell me that he didn't have a meeting.
Let's do it, Bob.
Okay.
So
And
the Admiralty.
I want to burn that. Before I go. Burn that wick before I go on to the next wick.
Where is the Admiralty located?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. It doesn't exist.
Under A.
10 SW.
We don't need to find it on the map. We
I
just
know,
need
it's
to see
not-
what it is.
Oh, okay.
That's the best part.
I need some envelopes. For those of you who
You
are,
can just
if you
not
guys are
read
watching
it.
this, you're crazy. I appreciate you,
But you're crazy.
but you're crazy because, you know what we should be doing is asking if anybody. Oh, nobody's watching except me.
We've had one like. We've had one share.
Somebody's watching it. Oh, maybe it's me. If you guys are watching this,
We've had one share.
me, I shared
Oh,
it.
you shared it. Well, that's cool.
We've
Cool
got-
story,
you've
Bob.
I'm the one watching it
You've
right
got
now.
reactions. I
We
mean,
have
at
one like.
least-
Is that you also? Did you like our own post?
I don't know. Maybe. All right. So nobody's watching this. That's fine because this is crazy. If you were watching,
We
this,
have had 3
that's
engagements,
I would be.
and
like,
we've
y'all
reached 80
bonkers.
86
Okay.
people. So
All right, you guys ready? I'm
Yeah.
going to visit
Go.
Captain Egan, and it's a thing.
that's a long one.
Captain Egan is a small bulldog of a man. He paces back and forth behind a massive oak desk, as if it were a quarter-deck railing. 8 months ago, Alan came to this office with designs for a new naval gun. Revolutionary in concept. Can't say much about it. Most secret, don't you know? The design was approved and money's advanced for its development. Oh, the monies were advanced.
Money's been advanced.
So they've already been paid for it. Okay. Can you tell us anything about the meeting Mr. Allen was to have with you in the evening of his murder? Captain barks out a name unintelligible to us, and a aging lieutenant, long since beached upon the promotionless shores of paperwork, scurries into the room. Bring me Grant Arms Company file. Allen sent me a wire. Quite vague. Close-mouthed fellow when all is said. He was worried about security for protecting number 10. I know, but wouldn't say much about it. His responsibility. He'd take care of it. Of course, I put some of my men on it anyway. The men watching the building were his men.
His men.
Yeah. The lieutenant returns with the file and is dismissed for the time being back to oblivion. The captain shows us first the wire. It reads, meet tonight, 8:30, your office. Call up the guard. Pounce at 10.
Pounce at 10?
He then shows us a detailed list of activities of Richard Camp, a development engineer on Project 10. We need to write that name down.
I already have it.
Let's say I've got.
We know something about it, right?
I've got him bulleted as.
The security issue.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see, he was always bringing boxes and bundles to the French embassy. Emile Zobar, French military attaché, has his offices at the embassy. So you believe that Mr. Allen's wire implied he had information implicating Camp in a security breach of Project 10? I did. Still do. But Lord Raglan, head of the project, assured me that Allen's security fears were unfounded. We met 2 days after Allen's unfortunate death. As a precaution, he told me he would remove Camp from the project. Since the conversation, I've concentrated my efforts on Zobar von Schulenberg, Delguria, and Meshkov. Their governments would all have great interest in our new gun. So far, my men have uncovered nothing.
So, if I remember correctly, Camp was supposed to have been removed before
Yeah, so
he died.
So, what's his face?
Raglan's?
Raglan told us that he dismissed this guy, Camp, because Allen was worried about it.
Right.
He implied that he had done it before his death. However, we now know that that is not true.
It was done after his death.
It was done after his death. And because Raglan told Captain Egan that Camp was not a big deal, just like me, Captain Egan believed him and changed his focus to the other three guys. Well, I think that this means that
I kind of have a tendency to agree with you about Raglan now.
I don't like Raglan because the story told me to, which was my first problem. We found his cigarette near the situation. We now know that it wasn't just Alan being crazy. Camp actually has problems, and he was not dismissed before. He was dismissed after Alan's death, which means that Camp is either A, our killer, or B, the leak for the effort that made the killing happen. So Project 10 folder, what was in the folder?
Because it's missing.
Right, SP10 is still missing.
So we have names to check out. Richard Camp, Emile Zobar.
Mm-hmm. You were coming.
the von Schulenburg.
The German attaché, the
Right.
French.
So here's my thing.
Well, the French attaché is Zobar. Zobar.
Zobar. Zobar is the French guy. Schulenburg, I think, is safe because we're going to find out that his wife is sleeping with Alan, but that it's completely unrelated to why he died.
Right.
I think we're going to find out that somebody, either Zobar had Alan killed, or Camp
Ragland.
killed Alan, or something. I think that's where we're going. Austin, what do you think?
You're now the lead investigator. Oh, jeez.
Oh, geez, wipe your hands off first, you dirty ragamuffin.
Hey, you don't say that.
Yes, I do.
Actually,
I just
he
did.
does.
You half-witted, no-haired, scruffy nerf herder.
Scruffy looking nerf herder.
You two look exactly the same.
Huh?
I said you two look exactly
We
the
do.
same.
All right, Austin, what are you doing?
Who should we talk to? We have.
Emails.
You need notes?
Do we need to talk to the man who's examining the bullet to
Maybe.
determine that
What gun it was fired from?
if
or
this is something that he's ever seen before, or if this
if it
is
was a new type of gun?
yes.
That's what I said earlier.
Because, actually, no, the medical examiner said he's never seen a wound like that.
Right.
The medical examiner said he'd never seen a wound like that.
Right.
But that has nothing to do with whose phone is on the floor.
Mine.
We're checking.
I dropped it and I didn't want to pick it up.
Okay,
I'm gonna check with the.
who are you going to check with,
weapons-
Austin?
The guy who the
One of the informants. H.R. Murray,
Yes.
the crazy guy?
no.
He's at 22.
Sacramento's having protests.
Oh, right now?
With those gunshots?
Yeah.
I'm
well,
going to assume that they're either A, gunshots, or they're fireworks.
Yes.
Fireworks,
H.R.
probably.
Murray.
So you're going to go to H.R. Murray, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
At 22 SW.
It's in the book. It's in the book.
Reading Rainbow.
I told Pierce I never want to meet him.
Pierce was a jerk. All right. Wait, we got to wait for Laura to come
You
back.
never want to meet
Yeah.
your hero.
You never want to meet your hero.
So we
All right.
are time-wise at...
So, anybody that's watching this or eventually watches this, please understand this is the first time we've ever experienced this game or anything like it, really.
So we are...
The last,
No.
we've, how long have we been?
1 hour, 37 minutes.
So we're at the 97-minute mark. It said 97 plus or 90 plus. They weren't lying.
We're kind of narrowing it down to...
We may be narrowing it down, but really we're just developing more leads than we are. We're getting more questions than answers.
Right. We are with Austin's at 8 leads.
Oh, makes me nervous. Because maybe the first thing so I think we did the first part right, and then
I think our first step should have been Beetle.
yeah, from now on,
Talk to the goddamn detective.
check the crime scene first. Crime scene first. Yeah, crime scene first. So
Because we kind of went on a I wouldn't say it was a wild goose chase. There was just information we could have
Well,
ascertained earlier.
we did not pay attention well to the readings either because we decided that William's mom was banging Alan. I'm not
Hey.
saying they're not.
We don't
We don't
We
know.
don't know that they weren't.
we don't know that they weren't.
We do not know. We do know that he gave her a fancy hat for her birthday. which
Yeah,
is-
who does that?
Which
Who does that? I'm just saying.
Pretty sure there's been some sausage
I think that Alan
giving going on.
is William's dad.
Wait.
This is a true statement. I've decided that Alan is, and that's why Alan was given the job, or no, William was given the job as Alan's number 2, his secretary, because he was
William is
he was secretly keeping
Who
his
does
son.
number 2 work for? We're just kind of, randomly talking while Laura is elsewhere.
We haven't checked out the wife either.
The wife? I don't know that the wife has a whole lot to do with this.
I don't, considering there's a really big bullet that left out.
I really, now that I say that out loud, I really hope it's the wife that did it. She threw us off the trail. Good. No, man.
Or like, what if the wife hired people?
Hey, murder for hire between spouses is a thing.
Exactly.
really
and
common
the people that
comparatively.
we're seeing have their own motives to do it. So multiple motives combined to make.
Yeah, she just pays their motives. All right. Here we go.
My hoodie was in.
We're checking
Austin
out
has decided.
I wasn't gonna dig through.
Austin has decided that we're going where? So it's
Murray.
22 Southwest, which is actually Baker Street, right?
Yes.
All right.
Professor Murray seems very busy when we arrive. He is actually studying the contents of a beaker when we signal our presence with a strong cough. He turns around and suddenly discovers our presence. His hair, which seems whiter than usual, frames his pale face and emphasizes even more the tiredness seen in his traits.
Okay.
It's you, Wiggins. What can I do for you? It's Wiggins, sir. We're investigating the death of Courtney Allen at his brother's request. Allen. He begins to mumble as he searches one of the numerous piles of papers cluttering his desk. There, file number 527. Not much to say about it. The bullet was found in the wall behind the victim. A large caliber which literally pushed the victim back. The weapon that killed him wasn't a common one, much less so when you take into account that it comes from one of his factories. You mean that the pistol the killer used was one made in the Grant factories? Quite so, Wiggins. And what could you tell? Oh,
Okay.
I can't see very
You're supposed to be wearing glasses.
well. I know it's.
What could you tell us about the cut on the briefcase? It's curious that the killer had both pistol and knife, unless there were two of them. What knife? The cut definitely wasn't made by a knife. It's not regular enough for that. I've also found scratches along the briefcase's length. This is very odd. Thank you for your help, Professor. We tell him before he returns to study of his beaker. Dr. Sari, the title of the charlatan who would suit him better. We hear him grumble as we discreetly see ourselves out. Okay. So, the briefcase was not cut by a knife.
Right.
So it could have happened in a fall or
When it was thrown
yeah.
But we do know for sure that it was a bullet from his factory.
So from a weapon
Yeah.
produced in one of his factories.
All right,
I think
so
that's leaning even more towards the guilty party.
lead inspector, where are we going?
We have two choices, the way that I see it. Either Richard Camp or Emil Zobar.
Mm-hmm. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I mean, the obvious would be Richard Camp.
Mm-hmm.
The not so obvious would be Zobar.
How would Zobar have gotten a hold of a weapon from what we can
Raglan
only
via
assume?
via Camp. Raglan via Camp. Because Camp was dismissed after Allen's death, so he was a project engineer on it.
Project
He would-
engineering.
He would have.
He would have access to any prototype.
Mm-hmm.
I would say we go and talk to Camp, see if he throws himself under the bus in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if necessary, we can go talk to the French embassy.
Yeah,
Or
then Zobar.
French attaché or whatever
Attaché.
it is.
Attaché.
Attaché.
And it's spelled attach.
Yeah. It's attached.
But it's a French word.
Oh.
And there's only one T.
Attaché.
It's
Two
two?
T's. It is attach. Yeah.
All right.
No, it's attach. The word is spelled attach. ATTACH. Attach, but it's pronounced attaché. Okay. So camp 23 northwest. Yes.
23
Yeah.
Northwest. Isn't he at the end of the patch?
How do you spell attach?
No,
I
okay.
literally
forget
just
it.
spelled it out for you.
We're done.
Literally just spelled it out for you.
All right, so Mr. Richard Camp.
Okay, let me get
All right,
one more
Camp.
envelope.
Mr. Camp.
And where is Mr. Camp located?
23 northwest.
Okay, 23 Northwest.
We find Richard Camp in the sitting room of his bachelor apartment, nursing a cold and looking thoroughly miserable. Okay. As he Now
Now we got porn.
As he pours a
Is that a
spoon.
thing?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Always,
it was.
always.
Since
No,
the
I
time
know,
we've been
I
able
know.
to scratch it on the tree.
We have been drawing people with boobs. Yeah, no, it's a thing. As he pours a spoonful of Dr. Sari's magic elixir, he is seized with a fit of sneezing, causing the liquid to spill down his shirt front.
Oh, he sounds like a lovely individual.
Blast! He curses. He flings the spoon across the room and takes a slug straight from the bottle. Ill health puts me in an ill temper, he says by way of apology. We're sorry to inconvenience you, but would like to ask you a few questions. Would you tell us why you were removed from project number 10? Lord Raglan simply assigned me elsewhere. Since project 10 was well along, he felt I would be more useful in other areas. He also mentioned that my visit to the French embassy had been misinterpreted in some quarters, and perhaps it would be a political move. Your visit to the French embassy? I am secretly engaged to the daughter of the vice consul. Her father is a most difficult man. Her uncle, Emile Zobar, is sympathetic to us. Since I work for an arms company and he is a military attaché, my visits there were ostensibly to see him. Both Mr. Allen and Lord Raglan were all aware of the real reasons for my visits.
Both who and who?
Allen and Raglan. Did you ever discuss project number 10 with Monsieur Zobar? No, I would never. And where were you on the evening of March 9th? I met up with Annette, my fiancée, at Rules. We had a quite long dinner after what I escorted her back to the embassy.
Don't cheat.
Cheating's bad, okay? As I met her uncle on my way out, he thanked me for the gift I had given him for his birthday. I had given him for his last birthday a box of Bounds and Hounds Imperials,
BNA.
his favorite brand. But he added that these little favors would not save me if I ever made his favorite niece cry. The face he had at the very moment sent a chill down my spine. Thank you for your help, Mr. Camp. We wish you a speedy recovery.
So, another reason to
Zobar.
Zobar.
go and question Zobar. Okay.
He's going to say he didn't do it, but he did, because he's a turd. Because we were assuming that What's-His-Face was there because of the cigarette, but now we know that Zobar smokes the same cigarette, and he had some because he was given some for his birthday.
Exactly. So the French embassy.
How about it? How about check Zobar first, just to see if there's a listing,
Okay.
just to see.
I mean, I would expect that he would be at the French embassy.
Maybe, yeah.
Oh wait.
There's an index.
Yeah, there's a list of places. Where did he say he took the girl?
Dinner?
Well, he said he took her specifically somewhere, didn't he?
That was 23 Northwest.
23 Northwest.
Rules. I met up with Annette, my fiance, at Rules.
So-
Rules, which would be a
Restaurant?
restaurant.
Or puppet show.
Rules.
Ah, tobacconist.
Huh?
With tobacconists also.
So, the elixir that guy was taking is the same thing that the guy before him was investigating as we walked out, and there's an ad for it. Dr. Sari's elixir. Look for it. Developed by acclaimed physician. Ewell B. Sari.
I'm sorry. So, being that one of the things that we had to kind of do with all of this stuff was the idea of measurement and how quickly someone could get from A to B.
But we don't have a timeline.
Well, yeah.
We have no timeline.
Rules is where he met.
I don't think it was. I don't think it was camp.
No, but he saw his uncle there, or his soon-to-be uncle there.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, he escorted her back to the embassy and met her uncle on the way out
The way out of the embassy?
of the embassy.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I thought they met on the way out of the restaurant.
Well,
No.
but it's still something to keep in mind because
That his uncle was at the embassy at the end of that dinner.
he specifically said a location, and so maybe that's something that we need to keep
Do we
in
have a
mind.
time? We don't have a time for the dinner.
But that's interesting also too. We
time
also,
dinner.
like you said, that there's a tobacconist, Bonds and Hounds, which is in London. So we have a French attaché at the French embassy who enjoys English cigarettes. Usually, you hear about something like that, it's like only French cigarettes or whatever. Okay, so Z. Do we have a Z? Zobar, 41WC. Let's see what the French.
What was the first name on that? Did it just say Zobar?
Emil.
Okay. So he's got a home and he's got an embassy.
Are they not the same address? Check to see if they're the same.
59 Southwest and 41WC.
Okay.
So we have two separate locations. So, do we go to the embassy and hope he's there?
I say it's home.
We go say we go home.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna use the bathroom real quick though.
So just for reference, I'm gonna write down the address 59 Southwest
Okay.
for the embassy. Okay, so Emil Zobar is 41WC.
Okay, so for those of you who are watching, so far we have discovered a lot of things. Hopefully you're keeping track because we're not keeping track very well for you. So you start out, we're trying to find who killed Alan, and we have been chasing down the leads from one to the next to the next. We now are going to go to the French embassy. Nope, the French ambassador.
We're
No,
going to
No,
Sorry,
the
attaché.
We're going
attaché,
to
the
the
military
attaché.
attaché to the French ambassador.
Yes.
Because we have a belief that he may be the one who done it. So we were believing that Lord Ragland was the guy, but once we discovered that the French attaché also smoked the same cigarettes, kind of gave him a little bit of a leeway. Not necessarily a good alibi, but kind of an alibi.
Something of an alibi,
Yeah.
at the very least.
A consideration, if not.
Anybody else feeling like Scooby Dooby Doo? Where are you?
Okay, so
Was that?
not really. No, because there's no mask to pull off.
We don't know that yet.
You're right.
There's no ghosts involved.
Again, we don't know that.
Onto the
There's
basketballs.
no ghouls. That we know.
Okay,
We don't know.
here we go.
We find Emile Zobar at home, ill in bed. His housekeeper, who looks nothing like our image of a French maid, shows us the way. We are sorry to disturb you, but nonsense. It is a slight indisposition, and your company is quite welcome. To be frank with you, I'm bored to tears. He snaps shut a copy of Alice in Wonderland and reaches into the drawer of the bedstand. He withdraws a cigarette case, which he opens and offers to us. We decline, but can't help but notice the gold leaf B and H. Shut the door, if you please. My housekeeper will fuss to no end if she sees me smoking. Would you tell us where you were the evening of March 9th? Yes, the night of Monsieur Allen's death, I was at Simpson's playing chess all evening. Have you any relations with Grant's employees? Not really, except for Mr. Richard Camp, who is secretly engaged to my niece, Annette Zobar. Why secretly? Because my brother is a most narrow-minded individual. Odd for a Parisian, admittedly, but he shrugs. He has a strong dislike for you English. Being a most shrewd diplomat, he is able to keep it all well hidden. Such might not be the case should his only daughter marry an Englishman. I, on the other hand, like and admire the English very much, Richard in particular, and since I am also inordinately fond of my niece, I agreed to involve myself in their conspiracy. Has Mr. Camp ever talked to you about this special project on which he was working? One of the qualities I admire most about the English is their profound sense of loyalty. Richard possesses that quality in the extreme. So no, my association with him is purely social, within the situation I have already explained. We thank you, Monsieur Zobar, for this time, and wish him a very speedy recovery. At the bottom of the stairs on our way we hear two female voices conversing in the kitchen. We catch a glimpse of a well-dressed woman whose name, Lady Hilda, stands out from the jumble of French spoken by the housekeeper. We are uncertain of the last name, but it is one syllable and begins with an O or possibly an H. Considering the French difficulty with the letter, curiously, she sees us and quickly darts out of view. So either O or H with the last name and Lady Hilda. But one thing that I did notice about the cigarettes,
He didn't put it in a holder.
he did not put it in a holder, so there would be no
Yep.
reason that the cigarette would be pinched.
I'm back to Lord Raglan. Damn it. Oh, damn it.
So he was at Simpson's all night, according to him. So
we could chase down and go to Simpson's to confirm, but
it kind of seems like he really didn't. I mean, if he's telling the truth, he didn't know much about the project anyway.
okay. So Alan thinks that can't be trusted. However, Zobar seems to think that it wasn't a big deal. because Camp wasn't talking. The last person, who was it? So we talked to Richard Camp. The guy that's at the. Oh man, what is his name?
Linhart?
No,
It's not Billy?
Egan.
Egan.
Egan didn't seem to think that there was a problem. He said that it was weird, but that Alan had a problem, right?
Yeah.
Alan
And again,
had a
it's
problem.
all it all goes back to Raglan.
Right.
Raglan dismissed him after Alan's death.
So
Raglan dismissed him to move him to another project because this one was kind of already
supposedly
well on its way.
is what Camp said,
Right.
right? So Camp thinks he got moved because this project was already going.
Right.
Egan thinks that he doesn't know, but Egan is the one that put the guys outside the buildings to keep them watching. That's why.
Right.
That's why the building was under surveillance, because it was Egan surveilling, trying to keep it safe. Alan knew something was wrong.
So one of the things that I want to know is this: are we able to look at the questions that we need to answer?
Anytime we think that we have the answer,
But we need to know the question that we're answering.
no, you don't get to know the question you're
done it?
answering.
Is the question.
Who
There's two questions that we need to know.
who did it and why they do it? Probably.
Well,
me
it's
see the
gonna
rule
ask it's gonna ask a question, and we can provide an answer if we know it.
Right, but we don't.
But how we answer is going to
Who did it and why
affect
they
our
do it?
score.
Lord Raglan. But why did he do it? Why would Raglan, in this situation...
Okay, so questions. As soon as you think you have solved the case, you will be faced with two series of questions.
Two
series.
series of questions.
The first series is always in direct relation to the case.
Who, what, where, when, why, and how.
The second series will allow you to score additional points for the discovery of events which are related to the case.
So, one of the things with my experience of Sherlock Holmes is it's never a simple point A, point B crime. There's always so and so did this, so
There's
and
always a
this,
twist.
and then there's
Yeah.
that twist. So, but
And it's always like,
Moriarty did it.
technically this guy did it, but he didn't know he did it because someone else thought that they did it. Or, you know, like,
right. Well, and there's always this unassuming event that happens that is nearly unrelated that completely brings it all together.
Cheating.
It's entirely possible.
Okay, so
It's
here's
the what.
here's the thing. Lord Raglan said something about debts and payments.
He said debits and credits.
Debits and credits.
Now that's a balancing of the checkbook essentially.
Right, and
Or
it was a
the
letter
accounts
that,
payable.
that had not been sent out yet. Why? Who was he paying? Why was he paying them?
Drummond was the assistant or the butler or something.
We could look up his butler and go talk to him and find out who he was paying and why. Maybe.
Maybe.
We don't know what we're going to find. So, here's my thing. For someone to be thought guilty, we need to know who did it. We know what they did. They murdered him. We don't know why. We do know how. They shot him with a large caliber pistol that was manufactured in his own factory. So, of the people who have access, and that's the thing that I keep coming back to, there's two dudes that are very sick. Why are they very sick?
Right.
They're both related to this young lady. That's their only connection that we know of.
Well, they're both connected, not related.
They're both connected to this young lady, right? That's what I'm saying. That their only connection is this young lady. So, what day is it? How many days has it been? How long does it take for someone to get sick? What day is it?
Type of sick.
That is the 12th.
The 12th, and it happened on the 9th. They've had 3 days. So if they were both, if one of them was sick on the day that they saw each other and chatted, which was the night of the murder, then they both might be sick today. I wonder if she's sick as well.
Mm-hmm. We don't know.
Well, so we still don't have a why. Why would somebody kill him? Because Raglan doesn't seem to have the motive to kill him yet.
Right.
The person we thought had the motive was Camp.
But he doesn't at this point feel that he was removed from the project.
Yeah, he doesn't even know that.
Problem.
Yeah, he has no idea that why he was changed.
Right.
And neither do we technically.
Right.
We just have
one theory from one location
what did,
or one person.
What did Billy tell us about Camp's dismissal? Did he say anything about it? He didn't.
No, he just said it was.
He said that Lord Allen had, or not Lord Allen, Courtney Allen had concerns about him, and that Raglan said he had removed him from the case.
Yeah. And we know that Raglan removed him after Courtney Allen was dead.
But he told Allen that he was removed before.
We don't know who he told. He told us. How did we find out that
William said that, didn't he?
Raglan told us that he had removed Camp
That's right.
as soon as Allen brought it up.
Right.
Which is not true.
Right. Because he told...
So the only person that I can tell is lying to us
is Raglan.
for sure is Raglan. So
You're the lead investigator. Where do we go?
okay,
That's
why are you
Cold
saying
Black
that out loud?
Because 2 people are sick.
Yeah, but
And
one
we
of
know
them
that
is
they-
her uncle.
hold on.
And
HIV as a viral contagion was
not a thing
was
in the
discovered.
1880s.
It's not that it wasn't a thing. It was finally established in the 1900s, in the late 1900s.
that doesn't mean we
Okay.
can't use it.
No, it means you cannot use it. So
Okay,
it's.
how about
That's
hepatitis?
meta information.
How about hepatitis?
I don't think it would have. There wasn't.
Tuberculosis.
Microbiology essentially didn't exist in a mass contagion sort of way at this time.
Okay.
Because in 1919 or whatever it is, 1915, in 1815, the Spanish flu killed so many people that it's yeah. And if they had known about microbiology, that wouldn't have happened. Okay, so the fact that something called a bacteria exists doesn't exist in this story.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we know? What do I want to do?
We have a whole lot of names.
We have a whole lot of names. We
So
don't know.
we know that
What did Lord Raglan tell us he was doing on the night?
We can revisit that.
Oh, we're allowed to revisit that.
oh yeah,
That's what I'm doing because we went and talked to him, right?
mm-hmm.
What is his address?
56 Northwest.
I'm on the page. Am I on? There's no 56 Northwest.
You're on West Central.
Here in West Central.
Northwest.
Oh.
There's no 56.
I stole it from you.
56 Southwest.
Okay, that's a whole other thing.
Sorry. Hey, Bo.
Okay, so Bunting is his man's name. He's 30. Picture of a gentleman. He has to begin before we can. However, he notices an envelope on the desk, and it immediately calls for Bunting. Drummond's has slipped up again. See that this is posted immediately. Excuse me, gentlemen. Debit where a credit should be, or some such. Okay. On the night of Mr. Allen's murder, I had an appointment with Captain E. Oh, he had an appointment with Captain Egan. Yes, purchasing offer for the naval.
Bank.
So Drummond's is a bank.
Okay. So he was paying some debt.
We don't know that. He could have just been writing a letter to them addressing an issue of a debit or a credit. If there was money taken out of an account or money put into an account, we have to go to the bank and talk to somebody. We already know he's lied to us once.
He was forced to work late at the plant.
It says he.
Says he. We should go to the plant and ask if he was there. That's what I'm doing.
Plant?
Yeah, I'm going to the plant, which is 12 SE12.
We could also, at any time, visit Mycroft. That is an option.
Or Sherlock, technically.
Yeah, we could.
I'm not going to see Sherlock.
If you're stuck in your investigation, Sherlock Holmes will set you back on track with good advice. Be careful. That help could spoil the fun.
We enter the typically grimy manufacturing environment of Deverell Street plant. Lord Ragland ain't here. I could show you Mr. Cohee's office. He's governor's assistant.
Governor.
That's how it's written.
Governor.
It is evident that Walter Cohee has come up through the ranks and would be more comfortable in overalls than his present ill-fitting tweeds. With a meaty paw, he suggests
Sorry, she's trying to figure out where the plant was.
12 Southeast.
Okay.
You didn't have to pick it up. It was just going to be.
With a meaty paw, he tugs at his shirt collar and asks our business. Can you tell us anything about Mr. Allen's visit here on the morning of March 9th? Odd. I thought it was so. I remembered right enough. Mr. Allen comes to see his nibs, Lord Raglan. But he weren't here. Jesus. Odd. I thought it was so. I remember right enough. Mr. Allen come to see his nibs or Lord Raglan, but he weren't here. Mr. Allen said he was waiting in the office.
Wrong accent, but I'm imagining this is probably more of a Cockney.
Yeah,
I was
probably
going to say,
Cockney.
it's probably more Cockney.
Do you know
exactly.
why Mr. Allen came to see Lord Raglan? No, I wouldn't be knowing their business, but it was most likely about Project 10, it being secret and all. There was hangers on around the plant, foreigners and whatnot. Foreigners and whatnot? How does he know they're foreigners? Do you know what transpired when Lord Raglan returned? What? Well, he never did return. Leastways not before Mr. Allen left. I was called away. When I get back, Mr. Allen, he hands me a note, says it come from Lord Raglan. Jesus. I was called away, and when I gets back, Mr. Allen, he hands me a note. Says it come for Lord Raglan, and I was to be sure he gets it.
It came like
For
somebody
Raglan,
delivered
yeah.
it.
He also says that he'll see Lord Raglan some other time, and perhaps it's best I don't even mention that he'd come by. Lord Raglan was in a bit later, stayed for a couple of hours, and left for the day. Odd it was.
So he did not, in fact, work late the night that he said he worked late.
A begrimed workman enters and informs Cohee of some problem with a piece of machinery. I'll be back in a moment, gents. Why don't you wait in Lord Raglan's office? Left to our devices, when Cohee and the workmen leave, we can't but notice the drawer in Raglan's desk partially open, and of course we can't help but peek in. We do not discover much of interest, only a stack of invoices, a bundle of stock certificates. One of the invoices is from Redford Jones and Co. What is Redford Jones and Co? Can you look that up?
I don't think we have any information
Look
on
up
what they
under,
do.
Look under R.
In the index
Yeah.
for
No, just look under R, because they list places by the name.
Yes, but
I just want to know what they do.
Redford Jones and Co. 11 West Central or West Central.
So it's right here.
Which means it's right next to.
In the index, what do they do?
That's
Maybe
I have
look
to
up
I have to actually
banks.
go.
Look at banks. Nope. Look up creditors. Churches. Very small rocks.
It's called Redmond Jones.
Redford.
Jones and Co. Redford Jones and Co. It's dated September 5th, 1887, and stamped paid March 10th, 1888.
Interesting.
A year later. Oh no. 8
September.
months. September to March. March 10th, the date after he's killed.
The day after he's killed.
The stock certificates are in 5,000 share denominations for several different companies. Among them, Duckett Paper Mills, Stevenson Iron Works. We managed to close the drawer just before Kohi returns.
He killed him for his debt.
I think debts. So, or you're just looking through everything. Because we kind of need to know what Redford is. Redford Jones.
Sports.
Betting. Is there gambling?
I think he killed him for the money.
I think so too.
Why? He's a lord.
No, we don't know.
Just because he's a lord doesn't mean he knows it.
Title
He's
does not mean
terrible at
income.
business.
We know he's terrible at business. And because we know he's terrible at business, why would we assume that he's good with his own personal money?
Right.
That's why I said look up gambling halls. Is gambling or casinos or bookies?
Tell me about the bookies.
If you were in New York City, I'd say it's a bookie.
Well, I would have assumed that they have
I'm
that.
sure, yeah, but that's kind of like the trope for people in New York in the movies. It's always a bookie.
Always a bookie. What about fun?
It wasn't in the pawnbrokers.
140 guineas. Okay, anyway, I'm going to finish reading it. And
Go ahead.
then, so, a little kick in the slats always does the trick. Now, where were we? That's a very impressive safe. All plants kept under lock and key to be sure. All plans are kept under lock and key to be sure. Would you take us to someone who could tell us about Project 10? Well, the only one around now would be Richard Camp. He was an engineer on the project, not on it anymore, but he can tell you a thing or two. Kohi leads you back through his office and out onto the corridor. Noise of the plants curiously insulated in Raglan's office grows stronger as we approach Camp's office. We knock and enter, but the office is vacant. He may be down on the line. Let me check. Kohi's second absence gives us a chance to prowl around Camp's office. The desk is littered with plans and formulas and notations, none of which means anything to us. Next to a cigar humidor is a framed photograph of a young woman. She is very pretty with extremely long, dark hair, and she radiates a bright, dimpled smile. Somewhat blurred in the background is a vaguely familiar cathedral, 2 square-topped towers. Before we can rummage further, Kohi returns. Mr. Camp left early, not feeling well. Well, thank you for your time. So there's a picture of her with Notre Dame, by the way. That's what they're describing. So we know she's French. That's his fiancée. So there's a lot of stock something going on here. Huh. Where's the newspaper?
11 West Central, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Redford Jones and Company, 11 West Central.
Mm-hmm. Charities.
Indigent Blind Vision Society.
11 West Central.
Cardinal and Hartford. So there's multiple things at that location.
At that location. Okay. Maybe we should go there and see what.
So we've got charities, carpets, and churches.
Okay.
More than once.
Well, that location.
That location is.
Well, and that's not unusual because it's that whole block.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So because I wasn't seeing Radford's and Jones, so I decided to look by.
Location.
Radford, Jones, and Co. So, the things we need to take note: Jones and Co. 140 guineas, and it's marked paid the day after the death.
Mm-hmm.
Stock certificates are in 5,000 share denominations for several different companies, among them Duckett Paper Mills and Stevenson Iron Works. So
For the factory?
somebody owns stocks, and that somebody is
They're a tailor.
they're a tailor.
Radford, Jones, and Co.
Okay,
A tailor.
They're a tailor.
so he had something made and couldn't pay it off for a number of months, a long time. Invoices from Radford, Jones, and Co. for 140 guinea. He had something made.
What the fuck is a guinea?
It's the smallest of their currency.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I know New
Right?
Guinea,
It's the smallest of their
Papua New Guinea,
It's a smaller version. It's smaller than the pound and smaller than a ducat.
and small. Well, the Ducat's a paper company. There's also the shilling and the pound, the pence.
Shilling, pence is a penny. So a guinea is probably one up from that, and then a shilling is one up from that.
I don't know the order in which that
How would I know?
goes.
I don't know.
We're just speculating here.
Okay. Okay. I have no idea. Let's see, Austin. What do you want to do? I thought that I saw something in here that. What do you
What
want
are
to
the
do?
most recent notes that we have?
Well, we know that
Okay, so a guinea was a coin of approximately 1/4 ounce of gold.
Oh,
bigger,
that's a lot.
bigger than a shilling. Bigger
But
than
that's
a pound?
interesting. Minted in Great Britain between 1663 and 1814.
So they're no longer being minted at this time, but they probably still have a 1/4 ounce of
Some
gold. So that's
years.
still probably a lot of money, more than pounds, I would
Yeah.
guess at this point. But I don't know that for sure.
All right, investigator.
What was our last?
so we know that he wasn't at the plant all night like he said he was. He had a bunch of stocks and bills at his office.
Shall we visit the tailors?
Maybe.
Or I think the bank.
Which bank?
Drummond's.
Drummond's, because he had an envelope on his desk
Yeah, but
days after.
we're not. So I think he was paying something off at Drummond's. I think he took money. He took the. So here's what I think.
NW doesn't
I think
exist.
he killed Allen with a weapon from his own stock. From what?
It's West Central, I think. WC.
It's WC 11. Oh,
It's northwest.
WC
yeah, but
11.
Is it
WC has an
WC?
11 as well.
They all have an 11.
They
Yes,
all
they all
should
have
have an
an
11.
Oh, that's right.
What's it? WC? Okay, that's the Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I feel like I should not be the one to.
You need to practice reading. Stop
Yeah.
helping him.
You got this.
Figure it out.
Where's your glasses?
Where are your glasses?
Not doing it.
Well, go slow.
Okay. The proprietor of Radford Jones and Co. is caught between a natural reticence
Uh-huh.
to talk about his client's financial affairs in general and biting urge to speak about Lord Raglan's in particular. After all, a gentleman's tailor is second only to a gentleman's gentleman as a paragon of discreet and loyal service.
Is there a Secret Service agency underneath this tailor?
I was just wondering if he was a member of the Kingsmen.
But the slight done him, which involves money, is too much to contain, and he chooses to speak rather than keep his sight. Rather than keep silent. It took us 7 full months to collect that bill. 140 guineas. Why, I almost had to resort to the courts. Not that it would have done me much good at the time. If all the tradesmen to whom Lord Ragland owed money were lined end to end, they would have stretched across the city. Of course, everything righted itself. I don't mind telling you. However, when he comes for a fitting these days, we have our payment in hand before we proceed.
Okay, so 2 things. A, 140 guinea to a tailor. That's a lot of money.
It's a brand new suit, custom fit, maybe more.
Definitely more. A 1/4 ounce of gold for a
Times-
suit.
Times 140.
Yeah, that's an expensive ass suit.
I
Well,
think
he's,
that sounds like a whole entire wardrobe.
well, maybe, but he's a lord.
Again, I mean, still.
Okay, so
We know
I
he's
think we
better
have
with
motive. I think
Money
we
is
have
his
motive.
motive.
Money.
But who
Because-
does he sell it to? He steals the plans for Project 10.
We don't
Not
need to know
necessarily.
who sells it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean-
we know it's Project 10 because that's the file that's missing.
Yeah, but he owes a lot of money to a lot of people, and now he's paying off debts.
But who did he sell
Yeah.
the project to?
Um,
One of the foreign dignitaries.
So we have
seems like the
Germany,
only options. And we know that it's not France.
France, and Spain.
We know it's not France. That doesn't
Germany
make
and
any
Russia.
sense. So it's right there in the front page, right?
Back page,
Back
top
page.
center, or top left.
Spanish embassy.
Spanish.
Oh, Spanish. I thought it was.
No, there was mention of
So
a.
who is our options?
So we have the German military attaché, the
German.
French, which we've already talked to Emil,
French.
and then the Spanish.
But didn't Captain? Didn't he mention something about the Russians?
Well, let me take a look at the
Yeah, right over there.
book here. Where was Captain Egan?
He was at 47 Northwest. No, I'm sorry. He was at the Admiralty, 10 Southwest. What is that?
It's a ramen that is pre-flavored.
Okay.
You want to try it?
No, I'm good.
You haven't tried it, John?
No.
Crunchy and salty.
Okay. So all of the military attaches. I've concentrated my efforts on Zobar, von Schulenburg, Del Guerra, and Meshkov.
So all of the above.
Their governments would all have great interest in our new gun. So far, my men have uncovered nothing.
You would think that the French military, because the attaché, his brother was a dignitary for the French government too, right?
Yes, I think he was the the ambassador.
He is the ambassador. You would think that he would encourage his daughter to be fraternizing with somebody that he's trying to get a secret weapon from.
He may not necessarily be trying to get it.
That's what I'm saying.
Egan was saying that they would all probably like a.
I don't think the French ran.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. That was
Yeah.
essentially what I was getting at.
Okay.
Or what are you choosing?
I don't know. Let's have a discussion.
I think that we need to talk to one of the embassies.
Okay. You think the bank, right?
I think the bank.
You think an embassy?
So wait,
I'm taking a poll.
I know, but let's go back for a second. So let me be more clear. I think that we've established that what's his ass in my head, he's bad at money. We know he's bad at money because he's not allowed to be the person that takes over the business.
And he
right?
paid a shit ton for suits or suit.
We know he bought some very fancy suits or something. We know that he has bills outstanding all over town.
Mm-hmm.
We know that he's desperate for money, right? We know that there's a secret project, and that pretty much the people that would pay for that are the embassies. We don't have any evidence to suggest that it's somebody stateside that would buy the plans.
It wouldn't be somebody that's from London.
Right. That's what I mean. So the reason that I'm suggesting that it's one of the embassies and not the French is because I feel like if it had been the French, we would have run down those leads already. Mm-hmm. And I think that a foreign power is the one that's buying it. So you want to go to the bank, which
You
I
don't
don't
want to go to an
usually-
embassy.
I don't
Usually
hate that
they
idea.
follow the money.
Right. But for what purpose? Like what, how, so I think that the reason I would go to the embassy is because I think that one of them is involved.
Do the Russians and the Spanish and the Germans all have embassies there?
So we definitely have a
Do we
German.
have a way of seeing all of them?
We have the Spanish embassy. We have
I mean,
a
the
Russian
Russians,
embassy.
Okay, so the Russians are
Oh, you know
playing
what?
nice.
You know what? If we go to the bank and they say, yeah, he's got a ton of money, they might say he made a large deposit from somebody.
Yeah, it's a toss
Well-
up between two things for me.
Because the bank is probably not going to just volunteer information.
You're
Unless their accounts were overdrawn. Like that last guy. Everyone's
Right.
pissed off at this guy, so they're trying to burn him.
Right.
so my thought process is torn between two. Drummond's the bank. Follow the money. It always helps.
Mm-hmm.
Or not the embassy, but the Schulenburg home to talk to either the count or the countess.
I'll go to the
Because
countess.
we got a letter from a lady, a scented letter, who has a title.
Well, and she also could have been using her feminine wiles to get to
why,
Alan. With,
that's why the Schulenburgs
yeah,
is
yeah.
on a priority for me.
Right.
Because we've got the scented letter with a lady with a title. That's
Right,
the
and
only
that's
lady with a title
actually-
we know.
That's where I was going to say. Because
Right.
I want to go towards the embassy. I think we have 3 targets.
But it was
for
Lady
payment.
O or H, wasn't it? Is that,
Oh,
is
that's
that what
right.
you're
Well,
referring to?
No,
wait,
no,
maybe-
I'm talking about
No, that was.
What's her name? The Von what's her bucket?
What's her bucket?
von
What's her
name?
Schulenburg.
I was flipping through the directory,
What's her full
Uh-huh.
name?
and we had Lady Hilda, who was seen at the house of the French attaché,
Uh-huh.
and her last name either started with an O or with an H.
No, she was talking to somebody whose last name started with an O.
Which was.
No, right. Well, I did find a Lady Hilda Hope.
Hilda Hope. Who's Lady Hilda Hope?
And it's actually Lady Hilda Hope. Listed lady.
Hilda Hope.
Yeah. But did you check the O's too?
I did.
Okay.
I did not see anything.
He's the only one.
But
No
the
other-
name Hilda.
No Hildas.
No Hilda.
No Hildas. Okay. I'm still stuck on either Schulenburg or Drummond.
Wait, but yeah, because what does Lady Hilda have?
We don't know. All we know is that she was at the French attaché.
She was at the French
And
place.
she has a title
could, yeah, she has a title, but it could have just been, random friend.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't know.
But the fact that she scurried away makes her seem...
Yeah, like she didn't want somebody to know that she was there.
Yeah. So I'm going to go to the Schulenbergs.
Yeah, that's...
Let's go to the Schulenbergs.
I mean, it's the bank of the Schulenbergs, and... Oh, it's excruciating to see how many turns we've wasted.
Okay, so the Schulenberg, Count von Schulenberg, is 51 Southwest.
Okay, 51 Southwest. Which is kind of a new section of the city for us. We haven't done much in the Southwest.
Okay, it's not a big one, but it's kind of a big one. It's like 1.5 pages. We are greeted at the door of Count von Schulenberg's residence by a man whose glare is unfriendly and forbidding. His walrus mustache and stiff bearing remind us more of a sergeant in the Prussian Guard than a butler. Before the man can shut the door in our faces, as he shows every sign of doing, Wiggins spews forth a stream of guttural sounds in a language that must bear some resemblance to German, for the butler steps back, clicks his heels, and admits us. Wiggins, for his part, cannot resist a mischievous wink in our direction. Count von Schulenberg sits waiting for us behind his desk in the study. Physically, he is a bit of a surprise to us. Short and rotund, he looks slightly absurd in his tight-fitting uniform, more like an overdressed tram conductor than a military man. We suspect, on the evidence of the half-filled glass of clear liquid on his desk, that his florid complexion is due to as much to his penchant for tippling as to the tightness of his collar. Is he a drunkard?
He's a drunkard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If his stature and shape, his rosy cheeks, gray hair, and whiskers, his bushy side whiskers loop down to his chin and back up to connect with his mustache. He's got chops.
No.
Oh,
He's got a Mobius.
Yeah, no. Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that would be if he has hair.
If he has hair.
Puts us in mind of old Saint Nick. His manners conjure up a very different image. He is very cold, devoid of any emotion, save possibly anger. He notices Wiggins' attention to a magnificent gun collection, which finds one wall, and asks him in a flat tone of voice, suggesting disinterest in an answer, if he has a liking for guns. Wiggins barely begins a reply before the Count cuts him off. Now, gentlemen, what is your business?
What is your business?
Terrible German accent.
What is your business? Where's my accent?
No, I was just doing it.
What is your business?
We explain our mission and ask if we may put some questions to him. We take his stony silence as consent to do so. Were you aware that the Grant Arms Company was developing a new weapon for the British government? I knew of a such weapon, of course, but no details concerning it. But since no company can compete with our old Krupp Works... It's twice that I've heard Krupp Works. I was not very interested. Do you remember where you were on the night of on the evening of March 9th? He raises an eyebrow with the implication of the question. While he decided whether to answer it or not, he lights up a cigarette. We can't help but notice the B&H.
So it's a popular cigarette.
On the cigarette, finally, he speaks. I recall quite well I went to the home of Hector de la Guerra, military attaché to the Spanish government. Just then... Oh, wait, no, this is narrative. Just then, there is a knock on the study door. Herr... Oh, Alfred, says a very beautiful young lady as she sweeps into the room and stops short. I'm sorry, Alfred. I was unaware that you had company. With a great deal more animation than we have seen heretofore. That's a $5 word for the day. The Count rises, goes to her, and with an elaborate ceremony, introduces the young blonde woman as his wife. Together, they make a most incongruous pair. 30 years separate them. The introduction at an end, the Count, there is no other word for it, dismisses her. Turning back to us, he says, "If that is all, gentlemen,
Good day. I said good day.
it is not a question."
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So we didn't really learn a whole hell of a lot.
But we did learn two things. One,
He smokes the same brand of cigarettes.
yeah, but he didn't put it in the...
No?
No.
So, one, we know that he has an alibi. Two, he gave us the alibi for the other people, the Spanish, which leaves only one consulate.
The Russian.
So, I think you go to the bank and I go to the Russians and we solve the thing.
That's simple, huh?
Yep.
All right.
All right, so to the
Hair to,
bank.
therefore.
Hair to, therefore.
Hair to, therefore. All
So-
right, Drummond's was the bank.
Drummond's
Yes,
was the
I
bank.
think we're pretty sure that this young woman who's been married for 5 months is the one that Alan was seeing.
Pretty sure.
Pretty sure.
Maybe that was a red herring who wasn't seeing anybody.
No, he was definitely
Yeah, no, he was putting the stoop to somebody.
stupid. Somebody.
Stupid? He was stupid.
That's the funny word.
All right, so we're headed to 26WC.
26WC. 26WC.
Have you guys ever seen Return to Oz?
Yes.
You know the rotund robot?
Oh yeah, the robot. That's exactly what. That's a good call.
That's what I was picturing.
26WC. Somewhere right here.
Wiggins.
Drummond's.
With a dazzling glibness, is able to coax the manager of Drummond's to give us a peek at Lord Raglan's banking record. It clearly paints a sad financial picture previous to March 10th. Since that date, Lord Raglan has deposited a total of £30,000 in 6 £5,000 increments.
Stock.
He bought stock.
No,
No, he
He
was
sold
selling
stock.
stock.
because he's deposited money into his accounts.
Where did he get the stock? Where did he get the stock?
Well, there
It's in his
was a
desk right
stack of stock
now. Right,
notes.
but where did he get them? If he had them before, he would have done this already. Oh, interesting.
Battery might be going.
Can you plug the battery in and...
No.
Well, if you guys are still running, thank you for watching, everybody. This may be the end of our broadcast for the night. We appreciate you sticking with us. Wait, nobody stuck with us. It's just me.
Oh, nope, we are
Yeah,
dead.
we're dead.
All right.
Okay, so we know...
We got to get that dummy battery.
Yep.
I was going to say, we know for future reference we should probably have the battery fully charged.
It was fully
It
charged.
was.
Oh, it was fully charged?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, I got it. Right as it was dying, I was able to get in the thank you for sticking with us.
Charge battery back. Okay, so we know shooting at 1080 or 4K, whichever it was shooting at, we get about 2 hours.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so...
So we need to get multiple battery packs.
Or...
Oh, our audio is actually still going, I think.
Oh, maybe that's
Okay.
what I was saying.
So, my camera, like